back line, and got his game back up and going as well.
Wilkie?
No, Hill. Hill.
Bradley Hill.
Brad Hill. So, and that saved his career too. I reckon it's been fantastic. So it's a great move because halfback is a talented player, Rioli. So, you get him on a halfback with his skill level, be able to just beat his opponent one-on-one and then be able to run off, gets confidence going, and then away he goes.
Well, one question that we were both going to ask, out of contract at the end of the season, Daniel Rioli, we know they parked his contract talks a couple of weeks ago. Ralph Carr, his manager. So I wonder where they're at. I'd be surprised if he's going anywhere. Though there may have been a chance if we go back a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, that may have been something you might have been looking at.
And I was particularly interested to ask him because I actually flew to Sydney after Richmond played West Coast here on the Sunday night. And I noted with interest that on the plane, on the seat in front of me, the very seat in front of me, was one Daniel Rioli, going to visit his partner who lives in Sydney. So, players have moved due to family links and partners, etc. He was going to spend his holiday, the 4 days mandated break they have in Sydney. So I was interested to see in the wake of that what was going on.
I love the positivity there that you thought asking him the question you might have opened a can of worms and reviewed something that was going to be groundbreaking today.
No, we've spoken to Adam Cherrow enough here in the West to know that you're not going to get an answer. But it's curious to know, does he put that back on the table straight away, or has he spoken to his manager and made a decision that we're going to wait till the end of the season? So that is something I would be curious about, and I would, they're the sort of things that you would expect to get an answer on. I'm pretty sure that we're not going to get it. Oh, yeah, I've signed for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
But has he made a decision after parking it? Yeah, we're going to reopen those negotiations.
And how they answer is always telling. Like whether it's I'll be at Richmond. That'll take care of itself. Like we did an interview earlier in the year of Darcy Parish, who basically stopped short of just signing the contract there and then. and then sometimes you get the ones where they're a little non-committal, and maybe that tells you a little more of tells you what you need to know.
That was quite telling, Darcy Parish. Yeah, when we did speak to him, it was like, may as well. I think Xavier Campbell spoke on Corbin and Ben afterwards about you basically signed the deal for us. So he was we were pretty convinced when we got off the
I
line
wasn't quick enough to ask Xavier Campbell whether I send the invoice to him or Adrian Dodoro, but I should have. Just waiting to see if we can check in with North Melbourne momentarily. But the famous Rioli name, you would think and hope potentially it remains the Richmond Football Club, given their great links to the club. But that said, I never would have thought Danaher would leave Essendon, and here we are in the modern landscape. Let's zone in a little more on North. What did you think of what you saw from them today as a developing side in the competition?
Well, I said pre-game that they've only won 2 out of the last 5, Dana, but they've been in most games, and that's because they're such a young side. They haven't been able to play at that high intensity for long periods of the game, and so they go in and out. Given the fact that it is a tough game to play very consistently, week in, week out, quarter to quarter, North Melbourne they're okay. They've got some good signs there, and it's just about playing 4 quarters. And unfortunately, football's played over 4 quarters, Benny. That's it. They at their best, they're good enough to compete, but like we've just seen today before our eyes, is that they just drop their intensity, they drop their work rate, and if you do that in AFL football, you'll get beaten. You need to be on your game.
Yeah, Brawny, I totally agree with what you've just said there. I think there's a lot to like about sort of where they're heading now. I think here for a North Melbourne supporter in the previous years, it's been a little bit of a battle.
You can see green shoots, can't you?
You can, and I think I mentioned at the start of the game around, the number of quality players that they've got under 100 games that are starting to really work well together. Larky, he didn't have his best day today, but, a couple of weeks ago he kicked 7. So in terms of your tall forward and what they can do, they've got a great young man in him. And, Jai Simpkin, he's been firing. Thomas, Davies, Uniacke, Zerha, Stevenson, all under 100 games. So they're going to have plenty more. There's a bunch of 200-game players that you've got there that are gelling, playing really well together. Obviously, you've got some older players in Goldstein, Zeeble and all that still around, but they'll keep contributing. So if they can add a few more players in the off-season and they can draft well over the next few years as well and retain good players, I think it's definitely looking up for them as a football club. So there are some positive signs there, but you're 100% right. It takes 4 quarters to win games of footy, and they're probably only playing 2, sometimes 3 good quarters of football, so they're not quite there yet to really move themselves up the ladder. However, they are competing against better teams, which is a really good sign about where they're heading. And interesting to see throughout the game, David Noble's reactions to certain things, and you can see how invested and how badly he wanted to win today. And obviously that's most coaches, but just his emotions that were coming out, it meant a lot. And he could see an opportunity, particularly in that third quarter, that they had played a good first half of footy, and he really wanted it. But I think there are some more positive signs there out of North Melbourne.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, but I was going to say, if as a coach, if your team is trying to play the way you're trying to teach them and they make mistakes, well, you can kind of cop that. If they're going to take on the game through the centre and they miss those targets, at least they're trying to do the right thing. You've got to commend them from doing that. And then you've just got to tidy up your skill level to be able to, get the fruition of that game plan. So I think they're on the right track. I think they're going the right way.
I'm glad you mentioned David Noble as well. I've told this story a couple of times, but repeating stories is nothing new for me anyway. But with David Noble, I was in Adelaide when he was at the Crows, and their success, he wasn't there in 2017, but the success they had in 2017, speaking to a number of people involved, were very complimentary in his knowledge of what it takes to build a successful football club and how that contributed to the eventual success they did have when they made it through to the grand final, which they ultimately lost to Richmond. We know that, but he has a great understanding of what it takes to build a successful club, and we're starting to see it. I mean, the thing that I look at is Luke Davies-Uniacke has 38 disposals, Jai Simpkin 34. A lot of those kids, Taran Thomas is going to be a Rolls Royce for a long period of time. They're starting to, as a group, look like the really good players they were drafted as.
Yeah, well, you get those players playing 100 games, and this is what Moldhouse and Judge and all these guys, if you get majority of your list around the 100-game mark, or that that core group around 100 games, that's the mould you need to win a premiership, and then that's you can build your side around those 5 or 6 players. Once you hit 100 games, you're a bona fide AFL player, and you can start to kind of really change gears and build your side around those certain players.
Just a reminder, we're not far away from heading to St Kilda and Sydney in the game coming up here on Grandstand AFL. We need the votes, Dana and Brawny. Who took the responsibility?
Well, we sort of shared it behind the scenes back here, but it was actually a tricky one because there were a lot of great individual efforts across both teams, so it was actually difficult to narrow it down. But we went with one vote off the rank. We went with Vlosten. We thought that he was just incredibly solid over 4 quarters for Richmond, and then particularly in that second half, he stood up and created a lot going forward. From 14 marks for him, he was just solid down back. So there was just a lot to like about Nick Vlosten today, and so we've given him the 1 vote. 2 votes we gave to Aaron Hall. He was outstanding for North Melbourne. I think just his impact on the game. He obviously had a lot of the footy. He had 38 disposals, but his impact was probably second to none in terms of the North Melbourne stocks. And 790 metres gained is
That's
just huge. Yep. Out of this world. So he was really, really good for North Melbourne today. So we've given him the 2. And 3 votes, I'll hand over to Brawny, his man.
Yeah, I liked Baker. 26 disposals, 7 marks, 2 goals, 1 clearance. So I thought he tried hard. And in the first half, he was the one that didn't, lower his colours, and he was a consistent 4-quarter player. So well done to Baker for the 3 votes.
Brawny, love your work. Good to see you once again. Dana, good to see you as well. Tremendous work over the course of the afternoon. Wheelie, fantastic to see you. Just repeating, North, they started well, 3 goals to zip in the opening term. Then at halftime, they led by 20 points, but from there, it was all Richmond who led by 10 points at 3-quarter time, and they went on to win by 33 points to keep their finals hopes alive. So they'll play GWS next week. Will they have Toby Green? We'll find out during the week as well. But that is a genuine 8-point game to see who wants to play finals this year. Morris Rioli Jr., the latest of the Riolis, on debut, was able to kick a goal. He finished up with 6 possessions and 1 goal. But right now, it's time for us to leave the MCG, head to Docklands, and join Corbin Middlemass, Andrew Mays, Brett Delidio, Brendan Goddard and Jess Webster on the boundary for St Kilda and Sydney From Richmond and North Melbourne, the Tigers by 33. Good night.
Patrick McGorry is Professor of Youth Mental Health at the University of Melbourne.
There is hope. We've got a plan, and the plan does work, but it does have harms and costs associated with it, as we all know. We've got to address those harms.
Virginia Trioli.
You've got to create a bit of space for young people in particular to feel the feelings, to feel the anger and the sorrow and the fear.
And drawing on the coping things that did work in the previous lockdowns as best we can.
Virginia Trioli. Weekday mornings from 8:30 on ABC Radio Melbourne.
ABC Sport. AFL.
Grandstand AFL.
Right boot from the top angle. Oh, yes.
What a high quality game this is. Tremendous.
It's so good to watch.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It's a new day, new day, new day. Beginning. Gibbons runs onto it, gathers hard against the boundary.
Oh, no! That is a great goal.
Paddles it to his own advantage, bangs it up into the top deck.
Kick it inside forward, Vicky. Massive voice! What a mark!
That's his trademark. Snap from the pocket, splits the middle. This game is going up a gear.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season.
He started it, he finishes it.
On ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Somehow, with 3 games to go in the regular season, St Kilda is still a mathematical chance to play finals. A top 6 team from last year. Their season's had no momentum whatsoever, and yet they sit a game and a half outside the top 8 with 3 to play. They could potentially be just 2 points outside of the 8 by the end of the weekend, but there's no margin for error. They must be winning tonight against the Sydney Swans, who are red hot. They've won 5 on the bounce. We saw the spike the Giants got last night with their loved ones arriving after clearing 2 weeks of quarantine. Will Sydney get a similar sort of bounce tonight? It is the 6th annual Pride game as well, so a splash of the rainbow colours right around the Dockland Stadium and the custom Guernseys for both teams tonight for the first time. St Kilda and Sydney on Grandstand AFL. Corbin Middlemas with you in commentary. It's the second leg of the doubleheader at Docklands today. After the Gold Coast were too good for Carlton by 19 points. The roof is on, the yellow Sharons are out, the players going through their preliminary warm-up. There's no late change for either team, so Jack Bytel for St Kilda and James Rowbottom for the Swans are the 2 subs. Andrew Mays alongside me to call the footy. Evening, Maisie.
Hello, Corbin. Always good to get 2 teams with finals aspirations at the forefront of their minds at this time of the season and get games that can fizzle out a little bit, but it'll be red hot tonight. Looking forward to it.
Our number 1 pick, sharing over 600 games at AFL level, Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard. Beach, firstly, good evening to you.
Yeah, g'day fellas. Yeah, it's another empty stadium just to call to, which is becoming the norm, unfortunately. But as you may have mentioned, Maisie, that Saints are, I think, mathematically still a chance, but I don't see that happening tonight with Sydney winning 5 on the trot and Saints coming off a 3-game losing streak. So I think they'll be much improved. We haven't seen a lot of them or any good stuff really consistently well the last month, to be honest, but Sydney keep trudging on. I really want to see if Sydney is just able to tighten the screws defensively. I thought last week was a bit of a shootout, albeit some people would have said it's a great game of footy and it's high scoring, both teams kicking over 100 points, but I think just for their own form, it was good that they obviously won, but just for their own form moving forwards into finals, just to tighten the screws defensively and shut down the offense of St Kilda tonight.
Now, just a very, very late change. James Rowbottom was named as the sub tonight. He is now into the game. Callum Mills has obviously done an injury in the warm-up there. We saw him warming up before, probably about half an hour ago. He was okay. It's only in the last 5 or so minutes, just seen him go down the race. And James Rowbottom for the Swans is into the lineup. So, quite dramatic.
So then, who's the sub?
Well, the other 3 are O'Riordan, McLean and Clark, so we'll get some clarity on that momentarily, but that is dramatic, a late change. So James Rowbottom, part of the starting 22, Callum Mills out through injury, and it will be Ryan Clark. Brett Delidio just pointing straight at the right answer for us. So Ryan Clark in for his 3rd game and first since round 10. How are you, Lids?
I'm good, mate. Not just here for the special comments, I also point as well.
Not just
his
good face.
No, mate, again, yeah, interesting to see the Swans with a big win can move up to 4th. You know, they're only 3% behind at the moment, but they need to win and win well to get up there. So it'd be interesting to see how they go. As Beach just alluded to, there was a bit of a shootout last week against the Bombers. But I'm interested to see what St Kilda team turns up tonight. We've seen them play some okay footy. We've seen them play some woeful footy. But, yeah, as Beach said as well, they're coming off 3 losses. Can we see them turn it around and really give us a game tonight. You know, it's hard, I get it, with no crowds and whatever else. You have to drive your own spirit and your own motivation, but you know, let's see what they can bring out to the game tonight.
The two results earlier today: Suns by 19 points over Carlton, Richmond by 33 points over North Melbourne, the twilight fixture. The other game tonight is the showdown, so it's showdown 50 between Port and the Crows. Ben Davis and Todd Marshall, the two subs for the respective teams. Now, I mentioned off the top that it is Pride game and there's custom Guernseys for both teams. So St Kilda wearing a jumper which features the modern-day Pride flag, so it includes both the LGBT community as well as the trans, Indigenous, peoples of colours communities. So we've got a number of different colours which wrap around the front and the back of the St Kilda jumper, which is blended in with their traditional strip, the three columns, the red, white and black, and the black shorts. While for Sydney, their jumper's actually been designed by their apparel sponsor BJ and Nike, and they've gone with the power stance. So it actually looks almost similar to a Power Ranger, where they've got the rainbow flag across the V of the jumper. So that's the Sydney strip this evening. They're also in their red shorts as usual, but it's obviously been a hot talking point during the week, and we'll discuss it again later tonight. But the Tex Walker ban, obviously for language that he used, and I guess you can extend that for the LGBT community, and the reason being for a game like this to try and create an atmosphere that is as friendly and as inclusive as possible for the LGBT community.
Yeah, that's right. And I was heavily involved with that through my time at Essendon in particular, and yeah, I thought it was a great initiative, but unfortunately, obviously no one can get here tonight. But it was just more about, I think what I've learned from that is that people ask the question. I think the obvious thing is, why do they need a game like this? Well, in their own community, they don't want it. They don't want a game like this. They just, you know what I mean? They just want it to be normal.
Yes.
But unfortunately, with the situation we're in, that we have to do this to raise awareness and make a comfortable place for everyone. And there's a number of reasons why we still need this. So it's great. St Kilda's obviously take the initiative, and I think a couple of years ago now, correct me if I'm wrong, with Sydney to really drive this and drive the messaging. So, ideal world, there's none of this, but unfortunately we're not in a position where we are in that type of world at the minute.
The language is obviously a big part of it, Libs. Did you notice that even in your time at footy clubs, how it changed maybe from when you started compared to when you left the system?
Oh, 100%, mate. Look, I think it's, when I first started, there was language that was used that wasn't it certainly wasn't acceptable in today's game, but I think education and more, and as B said, acceptance, and really just being made aware of that we're all equal and we're all here just to enjoy the game of footy. So, mate, it's a great initiative, and mate, it's. I really like the jumpers. I think they look fantastic.
Yeah, it's obviously nothing new for other areas of Australian life too. I mean, we've elected gay people to high political office. Most people work with someone that's gay or works for someone who's gay, and yet in Australian rules football we haven't got an openly gay player. I noticed recently in the NFL that for the first time in the history of the game that Carl Nassib was able to come out as gay. He plays
an NHL player as well.
Yeah, and Prokop, who followed suit in the NHL a couple of weeks later. So the big American sport's starting to see a little more progress on that front. St Kilda and Sydney coming up, a very late change, as Maisie pointed out. So Callum Mills down the race in the preliminary warm-up, so he's out of the game. And the sub, James Rowbottom, is now starting. Ryan Clark is the medical sub for the Sydney Swans. Jess Webster is with us on the boundary again tonight. Evening, Jess.
Yeah, good evening, Corby. And just confirming as well, I just got word that Callum Mills is out of the game with Achilles soreness. So he just felt a bit of a twinge in the warm-up, and that's the reason why he's out for this evening. So a big loss for Sydney. On the plus side, their recent form against St Kilda is very handy. They've won 11 of the past encounters against St Kilda. So not only will the Saints need to arrest a 3-game losing streak tonight to keep their finals chances alive, but they'll have to beat a side that they've struggled to play against in recent times. So a huge test for St Kilda. They'll have to throw everything at this one tonight.
That's a good point, Jess. So 13 of the last 15, if you trace it back sort of even further since 2010. So St Kilda's only wins in 2020 and 2012 before that against the Swans in recent times. Can you make the case for St Kilda tonight?
I don't think I can, Corby. I think I'm very much on the red and white tonight.
So I was part of a broadcast last night where Mick Moldhouse went really hard at the start and then had to fade his words later, so I'm happy with a big statement to get us going.
I don't think we've ever said that there's no chance. No, I believe someone last night.
We just don't know which team's going to turn up.
Yeah. There's always, any team's on any given night's a chance, but like you just said, can you build a case based on what we've seen in the last month? No. but there's still a chance.
One of our favourite speeds, Errol Goulden, who's in tension for the Rising Star. 15th game of the year, is the only teenager on the ground. You were a big fan of his game a couple of weeks ago here?
Big fan. First time I saw him live, and just he's so clean, great decision maker, great kick. So he's one of those players that I think you'll get to a point where he'll be a star, where he's running around getting 25, 30 quite regularly. But he's a young kid now that only needs arguably 10 to 12 possessions to have an impact. Particularly, he's playing forward of centre, so looking forward to his game tonight.
Kylie in Daysdale off the SMS. Thanks, guys, for recognising the LGBTI community. And yes, I'm transgender since 2015. Cheers. Nice to have you with us, Kylie, and wherever you're listening across the country tonight. The 6th annual Pride game, the Saints and the Swans on Grandstand AFL. Here's Andrew Mays.
Marshall won it down only as far as Papley, though, who bursts out of the centre. Hand pass to Lloyd, who was running off half-back. Quick left foot kick up towards left half forward. The free kick's going the way of Haywood, and he'll take it from about 70 or 80 out from goal. Numbers flooding back pretty quickly here. Only about 5 players behind him as he takes this kick. He'll pop it to the hot spot, keeps it quite low. Reid will be the jumper. Didn't get there in the end. He was quite late on the scene, became the spoiler, and it's locked up at the top of the goal square. Good start here for the Swans.
It's coming quite trendy, where a small zippy forward starts in a centre square bounce at the start of the game, and Papley started there, but you see him quickly just drift forward, and the other half forward will come up as a mid.
Marshall down to Steele, kicks out to half-back. Higgins collects, hand pass to Sinclair. Good to see him back after missing last week with that hamstring complaint. Out to Membry. He hands it further wide. That's not a great kick. Trying to send it forward, and Burns turns it over, so the intercept mark on the outer wing, and it's McInerney who has it for the Swan City side.
McInerney to Cunningham, who takes it at left half-back. Has Golden at true centre half-back. He's not going to go there. Now Rampy drifts into a bit of space, and that's where he heads. Rampy takes it inside defensive 50. Lloyd runs across to offer an option. Now McInerney has run to the other flank. Becomes a shorter option. He goes longer instead. Heaney and Haywood from behind. Front and centre. Wicks went the tackle. Didn't need to in the end. Goulden there for the Swans. Swoops the hand pass back to Lloyd. Now to McInerney. And it came off the instep. Not a great kick. Mark taken by Highmore on his chest behind centre wing.
Mills is out with Achilles soreness, so out in the warm-up. So he's the late out for the Swans as Highmore short on the 1-2 to Steele. Floats a kick down to Sharman. Can't complete the mark. Spills to Parker. Swans back with it. Comes out wide to Hewitt. Fend off. Gets around Sinclair once. Shakes an attempted tackle the second time. Hewitt was out of play. Trying to kick it down to half forward, and we'll have a throw-in. And pressure from Sinclair. It's out of play, so a throw-in on the wing.
Hope the skills improved in what we've just seen the first 2.5 minutes.
No score either way, so just repeating. Mills out. Ryan Clark is the late in. James Rowbottom was meant to be the sub, but now he's starting as part of the first choice 22.
Skills haven't been on show, it's fair to say, for the entire day here under the roof, unfortunately. Swans come away from the stoppage, although Heaney had a fumble at the last moment. Jones for the Saints comes in, takes the ball off him, hand pass to Butler, hand pass over the top. He's a little dodgy, just bounced a little in front of Higgins and sat on its point. Now Rowbottom tries to burst away for the Swans. Hand pass to Heaney, who hooks it round the corner. Nice mark by Reid. He's got a little bit of separation at the last moment. He takes it at right half forward. Rowbottom running past. Marshall just drifted into the protected zone. He was asleep. And Reid will be marched to about 35 metres out from goal.
I think it was probably there, particularly if it was, he was running on that kind of inside 45 kick back towards the corridor. If it was probably boundary side, I think the umpire can let that go, but the fact that it was potentially stopping an inside 45 kick, something that probably was really noticeable for the umpire.
Sam Reid in his 9th game of the season. That's a shocking kick. Slight angle to the right. He's missed everything. Hooked it out of bounds on the full. Can someone pump these footies up? I'm not sure what's going on.
Come on, please. Don't do this to us tonight. It's been a long day already at home with the 3 kids.
Day 3 of what's that lockdown 6 for Melbourne. As Wilkie marks the kick from Highmore and then goes long down the wing. Here's Butler, shakes the tackle from McInerney. Hand pass away to McKenzie, back in the team. Has his jumper torn straight off by Heaney. Hand pass ends up with Cunningham. Gives it away to Parker. By hand to McCartan. Back to Parker. Now out to McInerney. Kicks inside the forward 50. On the hop, Patley collects. Swings a hand pass to Wicks. has to try and control the footy, fumbles, regathers, gives it to Hayward, centering kicks a ripper. And Goulden takes the mark, 15 out, dead in front.
I love to say he meant that, Hayward, but there's no chance.
You don't reckon?
Because my man, Errol Goulden, was actually standing behind.
Okay.
Might have been Highmore. And he just read it better off the boot. But they're not a great start by both teams, but Sydney keeping the ball in their front half. Great pressure here when it looked like St Kilda were out earlier, but just to give them another chance, and hopefully this is a better finish than what we just saw from Reed.
So one shot already and they didn't score, but the youngest man on the ground kicks the first of the game. From dead in front, the first for the Swans. They're one straight. St Kilda yet to score 5 minutes in at Docklands Saturday night footy. Swans by 6, Jess Webster on the boundary.
Yeah, the Saints runner has just ran out to Mackenzie to give him a fresh Guernsey, so a quick costume change on field.
Well, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt with that kick, Beach. He's going to be the one who changes it. You know, he's going to say, "No, I've heard Brendan Goddard up there in the box." No,
no chance, mate. I think he was going for the guy that was behind Errol. So
he's got that skinny, but there was about 4 blokes who had a chance to take that and have a shot on goal before it, but clean hands have left them in the change room so far, but that's okay. Hopefully that cleans things up. They've got a goal now. Take a big deep breath, get their skills on point and take it away.
Goulden downstairs has come straight off and is on the iPad with a few of the assistant coaches running through a few plays downstairs.
Get a Candy Crush.
Hickey won it down, back in the middle. Swans lead it by a goal, no clearance. Kennedy spilled away from him at the last moment. Papley socketed off the ground. Sinclair for the Saints, tracking back. Hand pass to Webster, hand pass to Jones, who tucks it under his arm and goes. Good kick too to Kent, who's drifting back into space. He takes it in front of King. Now this is the interesting possession for the Saints. They need to hit a target. Kent goes to the pocket. Not a bad kick either. The mark is taken by Sharman. Left forward pocket for the Saints.
Well, he's very patient there, wasn't he? He just allowed the young bloke, who was that? Sharman, did you say?
Yep.
Yeah, his work, just to do his work. I couldn't see him from back here. Just beautiful kick from Kent.
You heard of Sharman before?
Yep, he played last week, didn't he?
Third gamer.
Cooper Sharman. Left forward pocket, in he comes, kicks it low, bringing it back. Lovely kick. Cooper Sharman take a bow. His third goal in AFL footy. 3 from 3 games so far. And it's 1 straight 6 apiece after 7 minutes under the roof here at the Docklands.
You see the way that one's shaped?
Yeah, the old...
the Brian Taylor special, left to right.
Yeah, or the tomahawk inside off the instep, but it was a great kick from Kent, to be honest. He just was patient. It was one of those ones where he'll put it to where you should go and get it. I'll put it out there.
Yeah.
Don't worry about leading. And it was just a slight kick to advantage.
Kicked it before he moved.
Yeah. Talk about it a lot, just giving his forward just the best chance. And I think it was McCartan that was on him at the time, and he just had no chance because of the kick from Kent. So good forward 50 entry. Makes a hell of a difference, doesn't it, Lids, when you...
It certainly does.
I've seen that from too many teams, in particular today from Carlton again, just butchering the ball going forward.
Scores level after the Sharman goal, so Marshall back in the middle wins the hit out down to Parker, though, the Swans. Slips over, hand pass away to Florent. Under pressure, Surge kick to centre half forward. Heaney in front, spills to ground in front of McInerney. Hand pass out wide to Kennedy, short kick picked off. And Webster takes the intercept mark. Long kick down the wing for the Saints. Kent takes it on his chest in front of the interchange. Scores level, 1 straight 6 apiece, 8 minutes in. It's repeating, Callum Mills are very laid out after the team sheets had come through after the warm-up with Achilles soreness. So Rowbottom's starting as Cooper Sharman keeps making a name for himself here. Floating through and taking a pack mark at half forward. Had a big second half last week, subbed on against the Blues with a couple of goals. Kicks into the pocket for Marshall. And beats everyone out of play, and a throw in next to the behind post. One of the most eccentric people in the game, Ray Chamberlain, celebrating a milestone tonight. Game 350 for him. He's in charge along with Nick Foote and Lee Fisher, a former Saint, the 3 umpires.
Toss back into play. Chance here deep forward for the Saints. Swans with a clearance though. Parker to Fox, who loops the hand pass over the top to Kennedy. Keeps his eyes low. Wicks has to be good. 1 grab, the second, not the third. He sees it out of bounds with Hill for company. Left half forward for St Kilda. Goal apiece through 9 minutes here in the opening quarter. Grandstand AFL.
I reckon Razor's got something special for us tonight.
I think so.
He'll give us something, won't he?
Will they cheer him off? Steele with the clearance. High kick inside 50. Good luck marking that. Number gather underneath it. Membry almost had it. Higgins snaps, bends and goals.
Calling it touched.
Touched off the boots.
Oh.
No. So that is paid a goal.
They're going to have to review it though, yeah?
Yeah.
Every goal.
Yep, that'll go upstairs. But it looked pretty good off the boot, I must admit. Had the binoculars on it, but we'll wait and see for those closer to the ball. 2 straight 12, the Saints. 1 straight 6, the Swans, after 10 minutes in the opening term.
It was just good forward craft, wasn't it, from a little bloke, get front and centre. It was that high sky ball that came in, as you called, Maisie. Mark that if you can. Jack Higgins doing what he does best, just get to the front, get to work. And a good little snap around the corner. Under fair bit of pressure. Good job to get good purchase and control that kick. Good start here for the Saints.
Last time they met, Jack Higgins, unfortunately, front and centre in that final quarter. Kicked 1-6 for the game, kicked 3 behinds in the final term, missing 3 set shots. And the Saints falling agonisingly short. Sydney winners by 9 points on that occasion in a very close run thing. We've got a crooked bounce in the middle.
Missy Higgins, wasn't it? Didn't they?
That's right. In the headline. Simon Lethlean speaking during the week. He wasn't too happy with that. I hope it didn't catch on, and to be fair, it hasn't too much. Free kick here in the middle.
On what with the crowds?
Yeah, I think they were a bit worried. It's unusual sort of for a footy boss to speak out about it, but it probably brought it to people's attention more than what it otherwise would have. As Hewitt lays a hand pass away to Blakey. Free kick to the centre square infringement. Swans go forward. They all fly in front for the Saints. Slips out the back to Dawson. Close to the boundary line. He wanted to keep it alive. He's out of room. And a throw in forward pocket for the Swans.
I'm tipping that's probably one of his nicknames anyway.
100%. As if the footy club wouldn't have given him that straight away.
Yeah.
2-1. St Kilda lead it. An early lead change in the game. Saints by 6.
Hickey palms it down. He was looking for Parker trying to break through. Got the hand pass out to Florin, who snaps. It floats all the way to the line. Hill and Buddy, and it's a free kick. Now, Razor Ray has paid this from 100 metres off the ball. And he's paid it for an arm hold, and Buddy's going to get the free 5 metres out, sliding onto the right.
What did I say?
So I'm pretty sure here, Razor's not in the controlling zone. He's not in the next zone.
And he kicks the goal, Buddy. 2 straight 12 apiece. 11 and a half minutes played in the opening term here on Grandstand AFL. Did you see that as well as Razor did?
Well, both players,
similar distance away.
Wilkie and Franklin were both claiming that for the free kick, I think. So it may have been one of those ones. There was 2 guys on Buddy at the time. Hill was the other one. So I think it was just a tangle up from all players. Buddy's arguably got...
Wilkie's got him with his right hand. He's holding on to Buddy's wrist.
And then Buddy's got Wilkie's jumper, which we can see being pulled. So, again, 50-50 for mine. But you may mention Razor Ray is sitting in the middle of the ground and blows a whistle. There's one for you, Lids.
Yeah. He's paid 2 out-of-zone free kicks already.
Well, it's his night.
He's got razor sharp vision.
There's a nickname he wasn't happy with as well, I'm pretty sure. He was,
do not call him Razor Ray.
Yeah. Here he is, Chango.
Especially if you see him at the cafe, you pull that one out.
2 straight 12, each of 2. Bank in the middle. Hickey wins the tap down to Rowbottom. The laid in for Mills. Tried to tumble a kick forward. Heaney attacks the footy. The steal went over the top and had his legs taken out, says umpire Chamberlain. So free kick for Jack Steele and the Saints. Hand pass away to Webster. Kicks it along the ground up into the front half. Burns collects, hands it back to Webster. Runs to 60 out. Kicks to the top of the goal square for the Saints. Membry flies, no mark. Tapped away to the pocket. Blakey's dispossessed and a tackle from Butler. Here's McCartan, hooks the kick out to half back. The Saints are going to win it again. Burns' hand pass is picked off. McInerney to Hewitt. Drilled in the tackle from Membry. He locks it in. And a ball up half forward here for the Saints. Kicking to the locket end of the opening term. St Kilda 2 straight. Sydney 2 straight. 14 played, quarter number 1.
Hickey tried to tap it over the top there of Marshall. Coming through was Jones. Just got his hand pass away to Crouch. Now to Steele, who kicks to the top of the square. It might have been touched off the boot. It was. No one marked it anyway. Swans with numbers. Hand pass from Rampy. Ends up with Cunningham, who goes out wide. And good mark taken by Stevens, who takes a bit of a divot as he dives into the turf and takes a mark.
The off-contract Swan, young high pick out of South Australia a few years back. His kick doesn't quite get to Dawson. Another one of the out-of-contract Swans. He's locked up in the tackle, didn't make enough of an effort to get rid of it and holding the ball.
Jeez.
Held to him. He was looking at the umpire. It's Caulfield with the tackle. His 50th game tonight. First game for a couple of weeks. In fact, he's only played one since round 15, so he's been on the outer a little bit, Nick Caulfield. On the City wing, lays it off by hand to Highmore, kicks inside the forward 50. King breaks free and takes the mark. And Max King up strong and clunks it 30 out right half forward.
Which is a bit similar to what we saw from him against the Eagles, wasn't it? Give him a run at it and he'll jump and take good grabs. He's got a great set of hands.
I think it's Carlton too when he started really well.
He did start really well, didn't he? But probably got tamed a little bit later in the game.
He just lost Rampy in that bit of congestion there. Rampy got tangled up and he just created a little bit of separation, which is all he needed. He read it really well.
Spinning the ball in his hands on the way in, Max King. A 21-year-old with 10 in the last 2 weeks. He moves in, his drop punt is pure. Straight through it goes, and St Kilda recapture the lead here. 15 minutes into the opening term. It gives Dane Rampy a little bit to go on with as well, who was standing to mark. So St Kilda 3 straight 18. Sydney 2 straight 12. They're taking it up to the Swans, 15 and a half in. Saints by 6.
Good that. I'd like to see that. Young bloke just not tolerating any of the...
Was he giving you a bit of advice on his ball drop, you reckon, Rams? Or?
Yeah, or there's something. I'm tipping it was probably something verbal, maybe a little bit earlier as well, but...
I thought you weren't one for faux aggression, Beej. I didn't think you'd be...
No, just from a young bloke, just not tolerating an older, experienced bloke, just probably lip it in.
Just go back and whisper.
Stand up for yourself.
Yeah, I like it. See that one? Perfect drop punt back over the goal umpire's hat. And yours as well on the mark. I'll keep doing it, mate. Put it in the air, I'll keep bunking them.
Back in the middle. Just getting a bit of an insight into what sort of chat used to happen out on the field here in the ABC commentary box. Kennedy tries to rip his arm free, couldn't do so, still got boot to ball up to centre half forward. Hill there for the Saints though, swoops in, hand pass over the top to Sinclair. Sinclair a good outletting kick too, he finds Crouch just backward of centre wing. He wants to go quickly, hand pass over the top is a good run. Now McKenzie almost runs himself into trouble, cuts back, slices the kick, it's a high ball going inside 50, King over the top, created a contest. Papley's able to burst away, though, for the Swans. Short kick. He just overcooks it in the end. A chance there for Highmore, who went back to Hill. And Hill looks back even further to the point of the square when the mark's taken by Wilkie.
He kicks from one back flank to the other to Brad Crouch, all on his own at half back. Kicks to the outer wing. Finds Jones. Jones for the Saints against his old team. Goes short to McKenzie. Dan McKenzie, heavily concussed a couple of weeks ago. He's back in the side, having missed the last 2. Kicks in the King direction, and the king of the pack, Max, floating through, hangs onto it. Came from 3 deep, and King will go back and have a set shot, 35 out right in front.
Well, I think arguably it was Kent's, yeah, but then King's...
Giving it to Kent.
And Kent was happy to for the big fella to take it.
No. He's going to have to hand it off, Max, so Dean Kent's going to get the kick.
Like Reid was playing on him there in that.
Yeah, Rampy had to soak up the loose and McKenzie actually.
He lost him though. He was all at sea down there. Reid got a clean run at it.
Again, he was a defender would have taken that aggressive position in front because he stands up in front, and King then's too far away from the ball to have an impact. But he just gave him that leading space where he can run and jump at it.
No sense of theatre. The man in front gets the kick.
That's why I didn't want it.
And the ball doesn't lie. Out on the full it goes. So the footy gods take care of that one. They wanted to see the big tower impact mark, Maisie. Wasn't paid. 6 points, St Kilda's lead. 18 played opening term.
Seen a couple of shocking set shots tonight already. Lloyd from the right back pocket plays on, gets around the man on the mark, then kicks to the wing. Coming through very late. Nice mark taken by Highmore. He'll look inboard too. Piercing kick to centre half forward. Oh, and it's cut off just at the last moment. Roving it front and centre, though, was Crouch. Hand pass to Jones, hand pass to Wilkie, and hand pass to Hill, who resets from halfway, flares it out wider still. McKenzie, hand pass over the top to Sinclair. Further aboard to Crouch, who kept on running. He pops it to the hot spot. Membry takes the mark, coming out on a lead. 40 out directly in front.
City defenders just are losing. The Saints forwards they're not, I don't think they're not playing aggressive where they're up in front. They're just giving them a little bit too much room. I know that's a dangerous kick coming back in the corridor. Used to call it turnover city there. But 40 metres out straight in front, but they're allowing their Sydney defenders, allowing St Kilda Falls just to run and jump at the footy and not taking away that dangerous space.
26 goals this season for Tim Membry. In he comes, kicks, normally a pretty good set shot, and he's nailed that one. The Saints have 4 and a 2-goal lead. 19 minutes into this first quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Well, I think for a long time the Swans have played back shoulder, haven't they? Like they are traditionalists, and they like to just play from behind and force the pressure from their mids, put enough pressure on it, give us half a chance. But at the moment, the Saints, as you said, Beej, they've popped it to a couple of risky spots there, and only 30 out from goal right into the corridor. But when you've got guys who can clunk it, as we've seen King do, we've seen Kent do, and now we've seen Membry as well, it's a good ploy if the Swans are going to continue to play back shoulder. So give them a chance. And they've cashed in so far, which has been good. Nice to see them kicking straight. We've seen a couple of games here where the Saints haven't kicked well early, and they're off to a good start here, 4 straight.
Tim Membry actually made his debut in the AFL back in 2014 against Essendon, a game you played in Beach for the Swans. It was a late inclusion for Lance Franklin that night, and of course has really made his name in the competition as a Saint. Free kick back in the middle, a 12-point lead here for St Kilda as we tick into time on to the opening term, and Hickey was taken over the shoulder in the ruck contest, so Hickey drives the kick inside 50, Reid out to meet it. Strong mark, leading Highmore to the footy, and Sam Reid will go back and have a set shot at true centre-half forward, 40 out. No, he won't. He pokes it to the goal square. Man drifting forward, it's Florent. He can walk it in. Bangs it into the fence, and Sydney have their third. Gee, clean break, results in a goal. Florent kicks one. St Kilda's lead cut to 6 again. Time on opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, Ratton won't be happy with that, considering Reid would have had his last set shot probably at the front of his mind, or at least it was fresh on his mind anyway, so make him go back and kick that from 40 metres as opposed to just popping that one over Florent in the goal square. But the Saints players got caught up where Papley was giving a bit of grief to Webster, and they've gone in to fly the flag, and then I think Florent's just ducked out the back. So something like that the coach is not very, or wouldn't be very happy with, just Saints defenders turning off.
If he was smart on the other wing, I'd be saying, swap, so you're not standing next to him for this next bounce. Be like, nah, it wasn't my man.
Back in the middle. Saints with a goal advantage. Lovely roving there by Parker. Received the tap from Hickey. Went inside 50. No mark taken. Webster a quick high kick to centre wing. Now, looked like Marshall was having his arm held there. He was, and he receives the free kick. Single has to go and fetch the ball. Gets it back to him, and he'll take his kick from left half back, Marshall. There's Caulfield out wide. Instead he's going to go a little longer to left half forward. King just drifted in from the side quite late on that contest. Lovely contested mark. He's 60 out from goal. Now there's another free kick. Ray involved again, and this one was paid against, I think it was Kent or Membry at full forward. So 60 metres off the ball. It's a turnover, and Fox has it.
Just repeating full time in the twilight game. It was Richmond by 33 over North Melbourne. Here the Saints by 6 as the kick from Fox in his 50th game down the wing to the other 50 gamer in Caulfield. Hands it to Sinclair. His kick smothered. Rowbottom runs onto it. Puts a kick inside the forward pocket. Bouncing footy. Webster chops it off. Sweeping hand pass for St Kilda. Away to Highmore. Goes back by hand to Wilkie. Kicks down the wing. Blakey has a clean look at it and takes the intercept mark. And has it for the Swans commentary wing.
He'll drive it long to Reid. Trying to get a jump at this one. Knocked over at the last moment. Jones out the back for St Kilda. Took too many on holding the ball. And the Swans had 4 around him. And they're happy to let him know about it too. It'll end up with Haywood. And he was just trying to break way too many tackles in a dangerous part of the ground. Haywood right forward pocket. Probably about 10 metres inside the boundary line when he'll take this kick. 30 out from goal.
Might have been able to pick up Dane Rampy in our effects mic there, looking for the screws for his boots.
In comes Haywood. That's a miss. Near side. Just sneaks in for a behind. First behind of the evening. 3-1-19 the Swans. 4 straight 24 the Saints after 24 minutes.
Talk us through that process, Beach.
Screws eyes. They better be the hybrid ones. I don't think I've ever worn
They don't make them anymore.
true screws here at
They don't make the old six-stoppers anymore.
Docklands.
So a change of boots for Dane Ramp here. St Kilda nervously out of defensive 50. They've turned it over. Dawson hand pass to Hayward. Gives it to Hewitt under pressure. Now to Blakey. Somehow got boot the ball across the half-forward line. Rowbottom collects. Tackled. Taken the ground by Kent. Got a hand pass away for the Saints. To Dunstan. Swung around. Kicks up towards halfway. Membry out to meet it. Bowled over. And Fox wins the footy for the Swans. Hand pass out to Cunningham. To Hewitt. Goes back to McCartan. By hand to Cunningham, closed down by Sharman. Cunningham's kick ends up at half forward. Flying too early, Parker, and Highmore takes the intercept mark at the back.
He was looking for the switch initially, and then he goes to hand pass over the top to Ross. Ross out wider by hand to Dunstan. Dunstan just got his kick away. It was off the instep in the end. No mark taken at left half forward rather. Lloyd now for the Swans is able to come away with it. He finds Stevens. Stevens over the top, puts it out in front of Papley. Send him a task though. Webster was able to close and make the spoil. Now chance for McKenzie. Pulls the kick to Sinclair. He's running through right half forward. He's got a player all on his own. It's Butler inside 50. He finds him. Butler thinking about playing on, and now he's going to go back and have a shot. Still going through his mind. He does play on. And he goes back to McKenzie, who's probably 55 out from goal. I don't think he quite has the journey. He's going to go to the top of the square. That's where it's going to land. Marshall didn't get a run at it in the end. Dawson received a hand pass under all sorts of pressure. Hand pass comes back the way of Dunstan, who puts it to the top of the square. Blakey dropped what he should have taken. Higgins dives on it, kicks, and snaps a goal on his left. One on his right, one on his left. He's got two in the opening term. 5 straight 30. The Saints, 3-1-19 the Swans after 26 minutes. Looks like a pretty frustrated John Longmire downstairs as well.
Well, just a couple of mistakes. It was
the lizard.
Yeah, the lizard just dropping. It was kind of difficult. It was one of those ones where he didn't quite have the ball out in front.
He had to go
eye vision, and it was a banana or a snap. Sorry, so the ball rotating, obviously
dropping on him.
Quite awkward. So yeah, dipping on him at the last minute. But Higgins again, just a really good finish. Again, finding just a little bit of room. I think it was Fox there, just a little bit ball watchy on a small forward. I always got told I didn't play on them too often. I'd always hand them over. But when you're on small forwards near a contested marking situation, just get body on them, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Don't let them get anywhere on the run.
On the run or get movement or get goal side of you. So just a little bit ball watchy there, but a really good finish on his left foot.
So all of a sudden the margin out to 11 St Kilda's way. Back in the middle, Ross first possession, hand pass to Dunstan, kicks down to half forward. Kent caught at the back and then his tackle broken, trying to apply pressure to Blakey. Hand pass to Dawson, kicks down the wing. Wicks out to meet it. He's dragged off it. Webster sits on top of it, wrapped up. A ball up as Parker tackles over the top, so we'll have a restart on the wing. 11-point lead for the Saints, approaching quarter time at Docklands. Hickey wins it down, but straight to Dunstan. Hand pass away to Ross. Has it bounced. Dock side of the ground, runs up over halfway. Kicks in the Sharman direction, works his way to the front, and Cooper Sharman, the third game, has got it again. Left half forward, kicked one from a more difficult angle earlier. He's 5 in from the boundary line here at left half forward.
I'm certainly aware of who this young bloke is now, Corby. He's had kicked one from here, drained one from out here, similar position, taken a really nice contested mark and done the same thing again. Nice contested mark, did his work, got in front, and he knocked it through.
So the 21-year-old Cooper Sharman moves in, his kick is out to the left, stays there, he's missed the whole set. No change to that score, Saints by 11. So Cooper Sharman, third game, a debut against the Eagles a couple of weeks ago, was the unused sub, and then came on for the second half last week, subbed into the game. Dougal Howard kicked 2 in the second half against the Blues.
Long kick comes the way of Dawson, knocked out of his hands at the last moment. Franklin might have caught his opponent a bit high there, Wilkie. No, says umpire Chamberlain, comes in to ball it up.
Cooper Sharman actually played the Oakley Premiership back in 2019 in big underage footy and was a mid-season pickup, so part of the mid-season draft, not on the list from the start of the year.
Dunstan tries to wrestle it away from the stoppage, then he's wrestled himself. Ball going nowhere, another stoppage on left half forward here for the Saints.
In the showdown, it's Adelaide by a point over Port, 1-3 to 1-2. Time on opening quarter there as well. Parker from the stoppage kicks into the middle of the ground. Hill knocks it back towards the middle. Wicks collects, he's gang tackled, and the ball up. Second leg of the doubleheader here at Docklands earlier today. Suns by 19 over Carlton and Richmond by 33 over North at the G. Ball up. Parker, slick hand pass as he's been tackled. Away to Hickey, to Dawson, and he links up with Lloyd, who kicks to the wing. And up, Papley takes the mark. What a game he had last Sunday against the Dons. He's got it on the wing. An 11-point lead for St Kilda, half-hour mark opening quarter.
Just motioning his troops to provide a couple of options. One short is Hewitt. That's where he heads. Short kick finds him. Now Hewitt enters 50. To Dawson. No mark taken. Umpire waves play on. Coming through was Golden. Back to Papley, who kept on running. Oh, look at the bend on that from Tom Papley. Outstanding goal by the small forward. 4-1-25 the Swans. 5 straight 30 the Saints. The margin back to 5 points. We've played 30 in the opening term.
It's kind of been unseen until that little passage of play, but Jimmy Webster must be filthy. I think he's came running through. He's kicked that in, and I'll just trying to watch a replay to add some commentary to it. And then he's come flying through. Great pick up from, I think it's Jimmy just switched off a little bit, Webster that is, and allowed Papley goal side to come running through. And it was a really good finish on his right side, running into the pocket there. So up and about now, the Papley just having influence of the game, just coming in the quarter time where the Saints have arguably been on top the last 10 minutes and just pops up out of nowhere.
Pointed to the empty stands.
Great celebration.
You like that one,
crowd,
mate?
then realised there was no crowd.
Having kicked back-to-back goals so far, St Kilda by 5 points, approaching quarter time. Back in the middle, Ross off the wing, grabs it, he's tackled, lost it. Crouch puts his head over it, pack forms around him, and the Swans rather extract the footy. Kennedy hands it to Florent, kicks down to half forward, over the head of his intended target. Chase on, Buddy second to the footy, lays a tackle on Highmore, umpire circles, ball up. Franklin laying the tackle on Joyce in the end, so he hands the footy back to the umpire. 40 metres out from the Swans' goal, kicking to what is been renamed the Frawley end, ordinarily the Coventry end of the ground for a St Kilda home game. From the ball up, centre half forward for the Swans. Still no clean pick-up. Hayward grabs it, he's locked up. We'll have a ball up, half forward, 50 out from the Swans' goal.
Umpire clears a path for himself and then tosses it up. Marshall won it down. Crouch, short kick out of there. Went straight to Goulden, who put it back inside 50. Caulfield takes the mark on his chest, tracking back with the flight. Important mark, considering there's not too long left on the clock as well. Caulfield pulls the kick at the last moment. A little short. Great mark by Florent. Stretched and was going to play on. Oh, the umpire's called him to play on. He was going to go the barrel instead from about 60. Not sure he would have made it, but wanted a crack. Unfortunately, he'd run around. And that is the end of the opening term here on Grandstand AFL. The Saints, 5 straight 30. The Swans, 4-1-25. That first quarter running 32 minutes and 8 seconds. 2 goals for Higgins for the Saints. Singles to Sharman, King and Membry. Meanwhile, all single goal kickers for the Swans. Gordon, Franklin, Florent and Papley.
There was a late change here. Callum Mills hurt his Achilles in the warm-up, so it didn't look like a serious Achilles injury, but enough to keep him out of the game. So he did disappear down the race. He was in his full playing strip ready to go, but Achilles soreness means Callum Mills came out late. James Rowbottom got the start as part of the 22, and Ryan Clark comes in as the sub. Neither of them used so far. Jack Vitale, the sub for St Kilda. It's break time as well in Adelaide. Showdown number 50. The Crows by a point over Port Adelaide. 1-3 Adelaide. The Power 1-2. Here, though, it's quarter time as well. St Kilda by 5 points over the Swans on ABC Radio, News Radio and Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
Who do you call when you need a scone, when your eggs are burnt and your food tastes wrong?
We often say we can do all sorts of things, like you mentioned, our scones in your awesome little ditty.
When you need a friend and some food as well, like a friendly face with a tale to tell.
We can make them gluten-free, but dairy-free, that doesn't quite work, so I'm really sorry for the vegans.
Well, clean your bowls and strap on your apron for the Country Women's Association. Boom!
Sammy J on ABC Radio Melbourne.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Deal with the clearance. High kick inside 50. Good luck marking that. The number gather underneath it. Membry almost had it. Higgins snaps.
bends and goals. Hickey drives the kick inside 50. Reid out to meet it. Strong mark, leading Highmore to the footy. And Sam Reid will go back and have a set shot at true centre half forward. 40 out. No, he won't. He pokes it to the goal square. Man drifting forward. It's Florent. He can walk it in. Bangs it into the fence, and Sydney have their third.
Dawson received a hand pass under all sorts of pressure. Hand pass comes back the way of Dunsu, puts it to the top of the square. Blakey dropped what he should have taken. Higgins dives on it, kicks and snaps a goal on his left. Hewitt enters 50 to Dawson, no mark taken. Umpire waves play on. Coming through was Golden. Back to Papley, who kept on running. Oh, look at the bend on that from Todd Papley. Outstanding goal by the small forward.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
It's the 6th annual Pride game between St Kilda and Sydney, and at quarter time it's the Saints who lead at 5-4, a 5-point lead over the Swans. Corbin Middlemass and Andrew Mays, Jess Webster on the boundary, our grandstand AFL experts Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio. Off the SMS, G in St Kilda West. Great games between these two teams. Don't forget the famous 2015 prelim, when the Swans came from behind to beat the Saints Beach and marched forward towards a premiership. It's been a lot of
2005.
I was going to say,
what did I say?
2015.
Sorry, 2005, and that's what
They played Saints
says as well.
Playing finals then. I wasn't there either.
I just wasn't able to read
2005, yeah.
directly off the screen.
Don't really, you don't need to bring. Who brought that up?
That was from G.
Sport, yeah.
And Grant in Waterloo in Sydney, shout out to you as well, one of our most loyal listeners. He's listening throughout Sydney tonight, so best wishes to everyone in lockdown across the country. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard to keep you company. At quarter time, it's the Saints by 5.
What do we make of it? It's a bit of shootout, 9 goals, but that's where coming into the game, just wanted to see Sydney kind of flex their muscles defensively and get back to that game style that we saw early part of the year. And then I think for about 6 weeks ago, you saw it for a couple of weeks where I think a game we did here from memory where it was very much a defensive kind of style, or offense built off defense, trapping the ball in the front half. But tonight we haven't seen that. It's kind of gone in and straight back out for both teams. So there'll be a lot of people out there pretty happy with what they're seeing tonight. But I think Papley just getting one late there just before quarter time break.
Yep.
It was kind of against the tide. The Saints had done a really good job. I think probably disposal and efficiency a little bit better than Sydney Lids going forward, but they're on top for a large period of that quarter.
They're up, 79% the Saints versus 73 to the Swans. A little bit better, but starting to mount that case, Corby. You asked me whether the Saints could get it done. They've started really well. They kick straight. I think that's a key thing. Concerning one for me is that they're already down. They're -8 in clearances, and all of them coming basically from centre clears. They're down 9-1. The Swans are just having their way out of the middle of the ground. If the Saints can get that right, give their big forwards a chance, because they've already shown that they can take a mark, they can clunk it, go back and kick truly. So give them a chance out of the centre bounce. Always good to win the centre clearances out here at Marvel. But yeah, I'm just that's probably the biggest concerning thing. The inside 50s are pretty similar. The Swans have had a little bit more of the footy. The Saints playing a little bit slower. They're kicking, marking, versus the Swans looking to move the ball on and keep the ball in motion, not allow the Saints to set up defensively. But pretty good contest at the moment, Beej. I'm pretty happy with what we're seeing. It's not a dour affair where we're not seeing this
or a lack of contest. Or how many
contested possessions do we had there? 33, 34.
Clearances and how many tackles per team? 19, 18.
Not too bad.
That's not bad, yeah. I still think for Sydney's sake, I think John and the coaching team would just like them just to tighten up defensively a bit, because we talked about their defenders in particular, just giving a bit of a...
Lamarck's inside 50, you'd be concerned.
Yeah, a little bit of rope to the Saints forwards, where they're kind of just protecting an area, or the old protecting or guarding grass as such, as opposed to taking the initiative and taking really strong position, taking that front position like they do now, where they used to be the old school back shoulder, all that kind of thing. But now get back to that real strong...
Look at them all now, they're all back shoulder.
Yeah. Positioning, particularly when the ball's out of your area, just to take away the initiative, because you look at King and Memory, they're both good if you really allow them to run and jump at the footy.
Saints by 5. Umpire Lee Fisher restarts play for the second term as Marshall wins the tap and then follows up. Got a hand pass out to Jones. The umpire blew advantage, and now he's going to hold it up as Jones runs straight into Papley, his former teammate. And the free kick's coming back to Marshall for the high tackle inside the centre circles here at Docklands. Boys kick that as high as the roof. Marshall, a high bomb inside the forward 50. Out the back is Kent. Grabs it, snaps, and we got a goal. 27 seconds into the second term. Kent puts it through. The Saints back up by 11. Off the high bomb inside the forward 50 from Rowan Marshall. St Kilda 6 straight. Sydney 4-1. 11 points the Saints way. Brendan Goddard, Brett Delidio, Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, well, again, I'm going to say who's on him. Cunningham, I think.
Cunningham went up.
It was the Lizard in the end. And there's going to be so much to watch even in this first quarter a bit for the Sydney defenders. There's 3 defenders that have gone and flown for that ball. I know you want to encourage their initiative and instinct to go for the ball, but
never let it out the back.
Never let it out the back. But when you're on a small forward, there was a handover. So Cunningham and Blakey, there was a handover. You got to respect the guy that you're playing on. If you're playing on a small, as I said, you just got to get some body on around a stoppage because that's what they're there for. And if they're playing their role, they're always going to be in with a chance. And then conversely, if you're on a tall, again, get some body on him, expect him to fly for the contest, and then that's when you can fly for the contest and spoil when your man does.
Hickey from the centre bounce, won it down. He goes and tries to fetch it himself again at ground level. The ball spurts out the side momentarily and then tackled to the ground is Parker. Will have another stoppage inside the centre circle.
And there's differences too. When you're on a small and you're legit, like you got the sit and you got to run and jump at the footy, I encourage all of that. But in that instance, Blakey was nowhere near having a real
with the
chance.
Clearance, but he crashed the pack. Dawson, all he had to do was get it over the top. He snapped it a little too quickly and hurried his disposal out of bounds on the full. Free kick goes the way of Sinclair, who switches things to the left back pocket to Hill. Hill further afield. Mark dropped there by Burns. It allows the Swans in. Heaney off the left. Good kick and finds Dawson. 40 metres out, 45-degree angle to the right.
Especially Dawson, I think he's playing more of a half-forward role. I think the thinking behind it is he's so efficient with the ball in hand. He's such a good decision maker.
It's a hard matchup too. He's a good size
and kick, yeah. Then he's a good overhead mark that any time he touches it forward or centre, he's going to have a real impact.
191 centimetres. This kick hits the post. Right upright. Another behind for the Swans. 4-2-26. They trail the Saints 6 straight 36 after 2 minutes in the second term.
He was excellent here a couple of weeks ago, Jordan Dawson, in the win against the Dogs. As Hill runs and carries, hand pass out to Joyce, long kick down the wing. There's a whistle on the play here, and a free kick for Sydney. McCartan thought it was his. It's going to go to McInerney. So right in front of the Saints bench. A 10-point lead for St Kilda. Swans going forward, kick down the line. He wanted to find Florent. Nice work. Connolly knocks it out of play, so a throw-in. 55 out from the Swans attacking goal. Jess Webster with us on the boundary. Jess, any movement downstairs?
Yeah, no injury concerns for either side. But what I've noticed early in this contest, though, there's a lot of energy on both benches, particularly in that first quarter. You could really feel the intensity down here at ground level. So, and we've got the contest on the scoreboard to prove just how much they're throwing everything at it.
Hewitt with the kick for the Swans this time, inside 50. It's a high ball. Franklin sitting underneath it. Spoiled it in the end. Tried to run away with it. Overran the footy. Jones in there. He has a fumble. Goulden knocked out of his hands. Still couldn't get a clean hand pass away either. Finally it comes to Hill, who snaps around the body. Kick didn't travel too far. They actually forced Wilkie in the end to become the spoiler inside his own defensive 50, and he kills the contest. Ball in at the top of 50.
Let us know where you're listening tonight, what you're up to, whether you're in lockdown, depending what coast you're on. 0437 774 774, the SMS number. And an update of the showdown 7 minutes into the second quarter. Crows by 5 over the Power. Saints by 10 here for the boundary throw-in. Steele squeezed the kick forward. Unkind bounce for Butler. It'll sit okay for Jones. Tackled as he kicked. Bouncing along the boundary line. Florent keeps it alive for Sydney. He goes back by hand to Hewitt. A little fumble. Does a 360. Then hands it away to McInerney. Kicks to half forward. Dawson the target. At the back, Marshall can't mark. Spills down to Dunstan. He hands it to Sinclair and pokes his pass. Clever. Over the top to Steele, who marks on the wing.
Almost played on, pulled his kick short, inboard to Marshall. Marshall almost kicks into Steele, who was wandering past, quite bizarre. McCartan going back with the fly, didn't take the mark, but gathered. Hand pass to Rowbottom, hand pass to Parker. He goes further back to Lloyd, and now back to McCartan inside defensive 50. Short kick is good to true centre half back, where Blakey takes the mark. Blakey looking for a way out. Rampy's in the centre square, that's where he heads. Rampy takes it. Hand passes back to Blakey, who snakes around the back, then kicks a low ball inside 50. Good defensive mark by Marshall, tracking back the ruckman.
Oh, Marshall kicks it straight into the man on the mark. Stolen by Dawson, puts it on the left boot and snaps it through. Boy, he paid the ultimate price, Roland Marshall. Didn't give himself enough room. Dawson smothering the kick and banging it through for a 6-pointer. Boy, that hurts. St Kilda 6 straight 36. Sydney moves to 5-2 32. Saints lead cut to 4, 6 minutes into the second term.
Do you reckon these coaches are actually enjoying that they've got masks on when their big ruckmen do silly things like that? Great work to get back and chop out, big fella. But just get back off the mark, please. You're in the defensive 50. Having it smothered there when you should be exiting the ball outside. I understand you want to move the ball on nice and quickly. Good reaction, good awareness from Jordan Dawson, and fair snap too from 45 out, mind you. Just one step, turn and bang. Dropped it through, no worries at all.
The mask are one thing that may stay for the coach's postcode.
I think so. Horse especially. I think he loves the little cook after something goes wrong.
You don't have to put the hand over the mouth like he usually does.
Hickey won it down. Oh, big tackle on Steele. Ball was not free of his hands. Now Lloyd onto it for the Swans. Hand pass back to Fox. Now back to Papley. He goes off his left to the wing. Caulfield nudged his opponent underneath the ball. He was able to gather. Then a hand pass inboard to Marshall, to Steele, to Caulfield, who's tackled, shrugs it. Good strength. And then was looking straight down the pipe and came out wider instead. Mark taken by Dunstan.
Another one off contract heading towards the end of the season, the 26-year-old Luke Dunstan. He goes back here to Highmore, who chips it back to Dunstan. Marks on the logo, commentary wing, hand pass to the running Bradley Hill. Kicks to right half forward, King gets a run at it, and a hand across the throat on the way through, no free kick. Spills down to Blakey, pack forms around him. Up says ball up, half forward for the Saints.
He's just asking a question. I've had a little ear massage there. Give me a chop out.
They haven't kicked back-to-back goals all game, Sydney, so 6 goals to 5. Saints by 4 points, and they got it at half forward from the stoppage. Steele hands it to Crouch, hooks his kick inside 50. Nice spoil Cunningham, down to the path of Fox. Gives it to Florence, standing still, back pocket. Comes out of the defensive arc with his kick. Hill spoils, and out of play it goes. 70 out from the Saints goal. St Kilda by 4 points, 8 played second term. In the showdown, it's Adelaide by 5 over the Power, 11 played second quarter.
Just have to highlight, buddies have not seen it. Has he even touched the ball yet?
Kick the goal.
Kick the goal. Yeah, but please.
That's his only touch.
But he has not got near it otherwise.
No, correct. Toss back into play. Rowbottom with another clearance. Snaps off his left. Here's your man on cue, buddy. Misses the ball on that occasion. He was shoved underneath it. Caulfield onto it for the Saints. Kick in the middle is a good one. It goes back to Hill, and Hill retreats. A bit of a risky ball here. Heimel does okay. Gets it out wide to Caulfield. Caulfield back to Hill in the middle. Good kick. And then he goes out even wider to the wing. Ross takes the mark.
Not a heap of options tonight with Dougal Howard out injured as well, so Wilkie gets the start and is doing a good job so far on Franklin. Ross in the end, after some hesitation, takes on Stevens on the mark. Great delivery. Spots up Kent, who marks 48 out left half forward.
It's a really good kick in the end, just lowering the eyes, hold a bit of candy.
Well, Kent pokes the pass into the leading lane at Steele, and Steele marks a little closer to goal. Same channel, left half forward. He'll shoot from 30 out.
Little things like that, strong indicator that Sydney's just a little bit off tonight. They're Saints just little defensively, just little things from the actual defenders, and then that being a slow play. It was
Rowbottom just got caught napping.
Yeah, but Ross was out there. That got slowed up. They did a good job to slow it down and get numbers back. Dawson, a couple other forwards from Sydney were in the defensive 50, and then just to find a little bit of space where they were just snoozing and switched completely off.
So the captain to give them a cushion again, Jack Steele. Beautiful drop punt. Back to 10 points the Saints' way. 10 played second term. St Kilda, perfect. 7 straight. Sydney a 5-2. It's a 10-point lead for the Saints. Grandstand AFL, 10 minutes into the second term. Brennan Goddard, Brett Delidio.
You're right, Beach. There's a couple of things that are just little indicators that have been a little bit un-Sydney-like, but I guess for most of the year they have had a very young team in, haven't they? And they've been able to fight it out, scrap it out, play a really exciting brand of footy. So with young teams, you're going to have lapses, you're going to have things, and that, no doubt that's a huge learning curve for them and for their coaches to take them through. But little things like that, Rowbottom, you come into the team, especially late, as after being the sub, you want to be doing absolutely everything right, falling asleep on.
Again, that's where that little space out in front, just take that space, stand in front of him.
Yep, make him kick it over your head.
And you've got 5 blokes behind you that can come across and support you if it's kicked over your head.
Hickey won it down to Heaney. Heaney goes out wide. Stevens jumped a little too early, went underneath the ball. Out the back now. He beats Ross almost to it, although illegally dragged him back. Ross with the free kick for the Saints at left half back. Ross looks inboard. Jones offers an option. Ignored. Still looking inboard. Seb Ross. And then he fakes and goes outside. Stevens almost caught. Came off the side of the boot. Messy disposal in the end. It's a turnover ball. Right on halfway. Wicks tries to loop the kick over the top. I think he was trying to hit the running Heaney. He was only 5 metres ahead of him. He miscued out of bounds on the full. Fairly scrappy there from the Swans.
So brings it back into play. Brad Crouch as he comes across the ground to Ross. He looked in reverse and that option's closed down, so he just has to kick a long contest ball down the wing. Fly from Blakey, slips out the back. Higgins runs onto it, trying to arc around onto his right boot. He hands it back in the end to Crouch. Goes off his left, straight up and down. And Kennedy takes the intercept mark. Still pressed up against the boundary line City side. Half back for the Swans. He retreats. Comes back to Lloyd, top of the defensive goal square. Out to Rampy. Left half back. I'll try on the open side, the dock side of the ground. Kicks long to Patley. It's superb. And Patley takes the mark, just defensive side of the wing. Same as by 10 points, 12 played second quarter.
Patley coming up for his 8th disposal. Great goal in the first quarter. Loops the hand pass over the top to Blakey, who took all the time in the world and didn't quite hit Dawson. Pitch just in front of him. Dawson's able to knock it back to Blakey, who becomes the tackler. And we'll have a ball up just inside the boundary line as Webster gathered, and he was collected straight away.
I've noticed the City are really reluctant to kick that long down the line. Just give Reed's up in play there, buddy's the last.
Marshall grabbed it out of the ruck, hand pass straight to the boundary, tried to con the umpire. He was having nothing of it. Deliberate is paid. Parker steps inside the boundary line and was urged to play on. Now a kick to the top of 50. Reed leaps, couldn't complete the mark. Caulfield is tackled by Reed on the way down. Umpire circles and says, I'll have it. 55 from the Swans goal.
So I wonder if that's just a bit of planning coming in against the Saints, just to maintain possession, force them to defend because they struggle to defend uncontested marks, move the ball forward like that, as opposed to kick it long down the line to a contest.
The ball up. Marshall extracts it, hand pass to Steele, gives it to McKenzie, kicks down the boundary line, and Higgins marks in front of McInerney. The Saints look on, Sydney a little off, 10-point lead for the Saints. Higgins goes down to half forward, King and Membry both up, slips out of play off hands. And a throw in 55 out for the Saints goal. And the showdown still 5 points the margin. Low scoring affair in Adelaide, 17 minutes into the second term. And off the SMS, Gary, hope the Swans can win from Hopper Crossing. Great to have you with us, Gary. Keep them coming through.
Tap down, Parker tries to shrug the Jones tackle, who's got his arm chicken winged him there. Couldn't wrench it free. The ball up will take place at the top of 50.
Hello from Holger on top of Mount Toolbawong and the Yarra Rangers building a new battery box and loving the call. Come on the Swans.
What's a battery box?
Not sure. Maybe Holger can clarify for us. Have I got that right? Toolbawong.
Might be Toolbawong, not sure.
Toolbawong.
But not sure.
Okay, I'm happy to roll with that.
From the stoppage, Swans trying to break free. Steele in there for the Saints. He's tackled. Now Kennedy tackled. And the umpire still says play on. Crouch to Butler, who just keeps it inside. Slams it on his boot, gets it to the top of the square. It's floating. Tapped down. King's waiting there. Snaps back over his shoulder and misses. From the top of the square, athletic as always. Just away to the right, one behind. The first blemish of the evening, 7-1-43. The Saints, 5-2-32. The Swans after 15 minutes.
So Lloyd on the kick out. And in the end, hands it to McCartan, gets it back on the 1-2. Lloyd out of the defensive 50. McInerney marks at half back. Hand pass to Buddy. Across the back line, he swings his kick out to the commentary wing, and Kennedy takes the mark. So Franklin with just his second touch. The other one Free kick from the non-controlling umpire Ray Chamberlain, resulting in a goal for Franklin. Kennedy on the 45 to Parker. Slow build-up, goes back and across, and Rampy still at centre-half back. St Kilda well set up in front of the footy. Rampy back to Lloyd. Goes on a run, has a bounce, kicks up into the front half and out to meet it. Nice mark, Wicks, alongside the centre circles. Saints by 11 points, 15 and a half played, second term. Crowded forward 50. Wicks long kick, top of the goal square. Reid gets a run at it, swatted away at the back. Down to Parker. Parker, quick hand pass away to Florin. He's shot at goal, touched on the way through. Nice work, Joyce. Brings it to ground, spills to Sinclair. He can kick out of the defensive arc with a wide one to half back.
And it just beat Higgins to the boundary line. He's seen over. Ball to be tossed in. 60 around from the Sydney goal. Important stage of the second term here. They trail by 11 points. The Saints with 7 goals on the board. Ball to be thrown back in. Shallow throw in. Marshall just got one hand to it and then swung a boot at it. Gained about 30 metres. It's coming back though, although McCartan was taken off it at the last moment. Hand pass went nowhere. Stevens backtracks by hand to Fox, who works the 1-2 with Haywood. Then Fox, little underground hand pass. Not great to Florin, put him under pressure. Steele was riding him, and then he locks things up. So it's all getting a little bit scrappy. Forward of centre for the Swans at the moment. They trail by 11 points.
Just get the feeling the Swans are just overusing the footy a little bit. Just, again, reluctance to kick down the line, move the ball really quickly there, just over handball. First person finds a bit of space, take advantage and get it going forward.
Hickey down to Heaney, hand pass to Stevens. He soccers it out of play, so deliberate the call. And free kick for Bradley Hill on the back flank. Sinclair's all alone, centre-half back, takes the mark. Long drop punt across the back line, finds Wilkie, who runs away from Franklin, up to the wing. Kicks to half forward, Butler in a one-on-one with Blakey. Butler edges him underneath the footy and whacks it. Volleyball spiked further afield, 20 metres. Kent went without it. Back pocket, McInerney somehow got it to Blakey. Away to Kennedy, and now Rampy tumbles a kick down the wing in front of Franklin. Inadvertently soccers it towards the boundary line.
Then he becomes the tackler on Sinclair. Ball spills free, and he becomes the tackler second time round on Wilkie. Sees him over for a boundary throw-in.
I was trying to find a moment to hand over. I thought the ball was going out. Amazing. It just teased us on the line. Adrian off the SMS. Great calling team. Enjoying the broadcast from lockdown suburban Sydney. Where is Sam Reid wandering? Heaney has not injected himself yet. Is he being tagged?
No, that ties in with my point about before, just about overuse of the ball, particularly for the midfield. They're not getting it into their forwards quick enough that allow them to find a bit of space or isolation, because when they are getting it inside 50, it's slow and it's a slow build-up with kick marks. Saints are able to get numbers back, so there is no room for Heaney, Reid or Buddy Franklin to find.
Reid in the ruck that time against Marshall, who grabs it out of the ruck, kicked long, and it's seen out for a boundary throw-in by Rampy.
This is from another Adrian, so different number, and I can tell by the area code it's come from. Fully vaccinated Aussie sitting in my backyard in France after a day in Paris yesterday under no lockdown, listening to a frustrating Saints supporter from Adrian. Great to have you with us all the way over in France.
Half your luck. Right, half forward.
Adrian, are you gloating there, mate?
It's the way to do it, isn't it?
Jeez. Tossed up. And a bit of shepherding in the ruck contest there. This free kick will go the way of Reid, who has Kennedy out the back, ignores him. He's going to take the kick himself from left half back.
Had an early shot, missed a whole lot. He's on the back flank here. Reid goes back to Rampy. Rampy from one back flank to the other. Fox in his 50th game. Plays on. Shoots a hand pass away to Lloyd, who wants to get back onto his preferred boot. And short drop punt. Finds his intended target, McCartan. Slow build up for the Swans. Saints by 11. McCartan out wide. Dangerous ball. Wanted to get it to Fox, and it's whacked out of play. Higgins does very well, so a boundary throw in between wing and half forward for the Saints. Meanwhile, over in the showdown, it's Adelaide by 2 goals, so they lead time on second quarter over Port Adelaide by 12 points. Here it's the Saints by 11, approaching time on in the second.
Toss back into play. Reid, run it down. Dunstan with the clearance, though. Hand pass to Hill, hand pass to Jones, who pulled his kick at the last moment. When the hand pass instead to Hill, he turns it over off the instep. Diving in to take the mark is Florent. Florent for the Swans. Can they get something going from their back line? Short kick to centre-half back. Mark taken by McInerney. Thought about going straight away. Instead just held the kick, and it's a good one in the end to Rowbottom, who does go straight away to Blakey, who kicks into the man on the mark. McKenzie coming the other way. Chip over the top is good to King. Can they make the Swans pay? Hand pass to Butler off the outside of his boot. It wasn't the best kick. It landed in between two Saints. Higgins is good enough and snaps his third of the evening. Couple on the left and one on the right. And the Swans have 8-1-49. Sydney 5-2-32. We've hit time on in the second quarter.
Well, they finally got a bit of flow into their game. It's been very kick-marked in the last 5 minutes, but a little handball off to Nick Blakey, charging off half-back, but smothered by McKenzie. A great smother in the middle of the ground there. Nice little drop-off kick to King, who was emptying out as a key forward. Little handball received to Dan Butler running through, and the outside of the boot kick. Little nondescript, wasn't it? In between two players. Little could have been a yours, mine, sorry, and both colliding and having it spill out to nowhere. But Jack Higgins good enough, as you called, Maisie. Collected and a nice little left foot snap. Been very good to start this game, Jack Higgins.
Jess Webster on the boundary.
Yeah, just a bit of confusion down here on the Saints bench. Rowan Marshall just came on and was heading into the forward line. There's been a 6-6-6, as you can see out there at the moment against Saints. He kind of ran one way and the bench is like screaming, no, you have to go down the other end, and then now he's sitting up along the wing. bit of comedy of errors down here.
Absolutely. So now he's on the wing, as you touched on to start. And Dara Joyce is contesting the ruck, so Sydney get the break. Kennedy kicks deep to Franklin, one-on-one with Wilkie. Franklin goes to ground. Hayward had it, lost it. Still alive in the forward 54, the Swans, but Connolly controls it. Hand pass to Sinclair, kicks exiting defensive 50, and Steele takes the mark. Lays off the hand pass to Conley, who's involved again. Gives it to Jones, kicks out wide. Nice build up for the Saints. Butler collects on the wing. Hand pass to Membry. Membry inside 50, too wide for King, and it slips out of play. Nice transfer of the footy from the last line of defence, and now boundary throw in forward pocket for St Kilda. Saints by 17 points, 22 played second term, game high margin.
Well, that was one of the first times we actually saw a forward with a bit of space, wasn't it, where he's out in the lead, had his opponent cooked by a couple of metres, and Membry just missing what was an easy little lead-up kick.
Reid down to Kennedy, who's immediately grabbed by a couple of Saints. Ball going nowhere. Ball up inside, attacking 50 here for St Kilda. Reid down again, this time to Parker. His kick smothered, goes nowhere. Punched by St Kilda, comes the way of Florence, who feeds the hand pass back to McCartan. He found Rampy, and then further afield to Blakey. His kick smothered. Good forward pressure here from the Saints. Another ball in to take place inside, attacking 50. Ironically, Marshall not the tallest wingman we've seen this season, with Nick Cox standing at 202 centimetres.
Well, so ordinary last week, St Kilda, in that loss to Carlton. Seen a better version of them tonight, a 17-point lead edging towards half-time for the boundary throw, and it beats everyone. Carries through to Florent, kicks out of the defensive 50, up to halfway. Dawson can't collect, but knocks it into the path of Gordon. He goes wide with the kick, and Papley marks. Commentary wing. Short kick straightens up to Kennedy. Caught in a tangle with Jones. Looks inside the centre circles. All alone is Florent, who marks, runs 10 metres, kicks inside 50. Misdirected. And Caulfield takes the intercept mark, 30 out from his defensive goal line. Saints by 17 points, 24 played second quarter.
Caulfield, right back pocket. High kick. King tries to get a run at it. Got hands to it. Couldn't complete the mark. Sharman down to Burns. High kick around his body. Ball bounces end over end. Fox has to collect. Then gets around Crouch. Good attacking play. Hand pass to Parker, who was almost dragged down. He affected the kick. Hayward good enough to gather, though, to Florent. Attacking kick straight through the middle. Risky stuff. Caulfield's able to intercept. Gets it to left half forward, where Higgins takes the mark for the Saints.
What a night he's had so far with the 3 majors already. He turns and kicks long inside 50. Membry and Fox. Fox trying to spoil from the back. It hits the ground. Front and centre, Crouch. Hand pass away to Steele. His kick smothered. Ricochets into the path of Membry. Lays it back by hand. Higgins on the end of it again. Snaps goalward. The only man back is Rampy, as the goalkeeper spills the mark, but plenty of time to mop up. Heads wide with a kick out to Wicks at half back.
Ball bounces in front of him. He's able to gather. Kicks inboard. Ball floats for a while. It allows Joyce over the top to make the spoil. Then got the hand pass to Sinclair. Sinclair pokes the pass inside 50. Sharman's taken over the boundary for a throw in. So if he'd snapped that, Jack Higgins, he would have had 4 goals tonight, all snaps. Ball to be tossed in 40 from goal.
It's one way to shake the nickname we chatted about earlier. 1-6 the last time they played. 3 set shot misses in the last quarter.
Toss back into play. Reed tries to grab it out of the ruck. Had a fumble at the last moment. Hewitt tries to break away. Free kick in there. He's going the way of Parker for in the back.
So Luke Parker off contract at the end of the season. We'll talk about the Swans cap during the week. A bit of pressure on it with the number of young emerging stars coming off their current deals. He goes back to Rampy, and Rampy to Blakey, still inside the defensive 50. Calls the runner to go shotgun, and that's Cunningham. Receives the footy, kicks down the wing, and Reed marks. So Sam Reed with it for the Swans. St Kilda by 17 points. 26 played, second quarter. Led most of the night after Sydney kicked the first goal in the opening 6 minutes. Reed down to half forward. Highmore trying to spoil. Spills down to Rowbottom. 70 out the late inclusion. Tumbles a kick inside 50. Franklin whacks it out the back, but Higgins doing the work at both ends. Gets back defensively. Hand pass away to Hill. He comes wide to Highmore. Back flank for the Saints. Saints by 17 approaching half time.
Highmore right back pocket for the Saints. He was looking fairly attacking and then went defensively in the end to Wilkie, who had to gather on the bounce in his own defensive goal square. Kick wasn't a bad one, although it landed in between two Saints. Runs away from McKenzie. He couldn't get back onto it, and ball will be tossed in 70 around from the Swans goal.
I think Bud must have said something to him during the week that they haven't agreed with Beach, because he's been one-on-one a few times down the line. They refused to kick it to him.
And Red was looking there, but
doesn't want to kick it.
They don't want to kick it. There must be a plan going in just to maintain possession. Look for those short ones to expose, I guess, maybe the high half backs of St Kilda and even the midfielders, just to hit those leads up to get their inside 50s. But even when they're doing that, again, they're getting in a position when they can get it deep inside 50, but it's slow and numbers are all back. Buddy, Reed, he's down there. They don't have any time and space. They can't create any space down there.
By the way, it's half-time in the showdown, and somehow Adelaide are beating Port 4-1 by 19 points. More on that throughout the night. From the boundary throw-in, here's Dawson, kicks to centre half forward for the Swans, but again, St Kilda with numbers. Across the half-back line, Burns collects, comes wide to Membry, and helped out a play by Fox. Will have a throw-in right in front of the interchange. Ticking towards half-time, the Saints by 17 points. Earlier today, the Suns by 19 over Carlton on this ground. And in the twilight, Morris Rioli Jr. making his debut, kicking a goal. The Tigers' 33-point winners coming from behind to beat the Roos.
Thrown back into play on centre wing. Reed wins it down to Crouch. Turned in the tackle, landed on his back. Rowbottom strong in that contest. It's going nowhere. Ball up to take place just forward of centre. Tossed up. Hickey, Marshall in the ruck again. Marshall won it down to Steele, who tries to get free of the Rowbottom tackle. Couldn't do so. 2 good ones in a row for Rowbottom. And another stoppage on centre wing.
We'll see if I can get us a clearance here, Maisie, as Marshall palms it straight down the throat of Steele. He slips out of the Hewitt tackle, gives it to Crouch. He's dispossessed. Rowbottom off his backside. Gets the ball out to Goulden. Hand pass releases Dawson. He's tackled, had time, dispossessed. And the number one tackler in the game, Jack Steele, rewarded with the free kick. Leads the AFL in that category, 29 minutes into the second term. St Kilda by 17. Steele off a standing start down to half forward. King arrives late, goes the spoil into the path of Kent. Chucks it on the boot, search kick into the pocket. Cunningham first there, runs it out of play. Higgins appealing for the free, he won't get it. And out of bounds. He wouldn't have wanted too many more spare metres between the defender, Higgins, and Harry Cunningham, who wanted the safety of the boundary line. We'll get a neutral ball setting, a boundary throw in here. Forward pocket for the Saints.
Ball spinning back into play. Late chance here for St Kilda. Hickey, though, with the clearance. Kick slews off the side of the boot. Goulden and Hill parked underneath it. Ball bounced on its point. Joyce came through. Almost threw it onto his boot, and then a hint of out of bounds on the full. Umpire says no. Ball will be tossed in 60 around from the Saints' goal.
So that score half-time in Adelaide, 4-6-30 Adelaide. Port Adelaide 1-5-11, 19 points the Crows lead.
St Kilda by 17. We haven't had a score in almost 10 minutes of footy. Dunstan dragged away from him. Now out the back, a chance for Connolly, who kicks inside 50. High ball, Cunningham, hand pass to McInerney, who just keeps it in, and switches play. It's good kick too to Lloyd, who hand passes immediately to McCartan, who's running through the right back pocket.
A couple of bounces, looks for Heaney on the wing, who's been very quiet. One-on-one opposed to Highmore, slips out towards Membry, who's been chucked behind the footy for the last few minutes. Turns and kicks long inside the forward arc. Well, Sharman was late to arrive, but got there eventually. Hand pass to McKenzie. Kicks to the hot spot. Getting back to Swans fly. Dawson, with his fist on it in front of Parker, whacks it through for a rush behind. So we get a score there, a minor. As the clock showing 3 zeros on it, so time's completely elapsed. St Kilda by 18 points at half-time with a rush behind. The same as 8-2-50. Sydney 5-2-32. A bit of a turn-up here in the first half. They kicked 3 goals to 1, the Saints, in that second quarter after kicking 5 goals to 4 in the first. So they turned a 5-point quarter-time lead into an 18-point buffer at the half. St Kilda playing for their season, 18 points up over the Swans. The goal kickers, Jack Higgins, he's got 3. And then 1 to Steele, King, Kent, Membry and Cooper Sharman. While for Sydney, 1 each to Patley, Florent, Goulden, Franklin and Dawson. 8 goals to 5, an 18-point lead for St Kilda at the half. What do we make of all that? Brett Delidio, Brendan Goddard on Grandstand AFL.
Jeez. First quarter, a lot of people would have liked. A bit of high scoring, bit of circle work, and then that quarter has turned into a bit of an arm wrestle to the midfield. Swans' overuse of the ball was really frustrating me, watching their forwards stand there when they did have a bit of time and space and isolation. You mentioned Buddy, but that's what we haven't seen. Isaac, is he even playing tonight? You almost have to put a little bit on him too, because he's not getting himself up, getting himself a kick away from the play, and then when it does, or the rare occasion it does get kicked long down the line, just give yourself a chance to compete.
He's an absolute enigma, isn't he? Never made an All-Australian 40, only once top 5 in the best and fairest. And some days you look at him and you think, gee, he can be the best player in the competition on his day, and then there's days like today where we've
paid
seen him.
A year. So he's not helping himself, but Sydney, I think, just aren't helping themselves in general in terms of their ball movement forward. Again, it looks like it's a plan. It looks consistent from the get-go that it's a short kick. They're really happy to take that switch, even when they can't play on and they've got the outnumber on the open side or the off-ball side. So it's a bit strange for mine. I'm thinking they're going in there at half-time and Buddy in the forwards is just going. Buddy, a number of times his body language is like, boys, just get it to me, kick it to me. And when they have, they've kicked it. It's been in slow. Caulfield's come in a couple of times, intercept marked. He's got 2 or 3 guys.
Playing a really good game.
Yep. Intercepting him, competing against him because the ball's just coming in too slow. So they're not giving their full, which is really dangerous now. They look a lot better now forward of the ball with all Franklin, Reid and Heaney there. Like that's a pretty strong presence in front of the ball and a good mix of guys.
They're not giving them a chance, are they?
Yeah, they're on ground level, aerial. They've got all the tricks down there. And then on the other hand, the Saints just a little bit more efficient. A couple of times we've seen them move the ball from end to end, be really slick with it, find a guy out in time and space in forward, miss kick by memory, find King, but King's able to get a bit of space. There's some weird decisions being made from Swans defenders. Higgins got off the chain a little bit with his 3 goals. So there's a lot to like there. They're obviously playing for the season, and we said we give them a chance. There's always a chance at the start of the game. We've got to keep in mind their form's been really bad, so there was always going to be a response after last week's performance against Carlton. And then on the other hand, Sydney, arguably the form team of the competition, but they've been up for a long time. So, and we made mention, Liz, that you take over here where we think that Sydney's they're a little bit off tonight.
They're a little bit off. I think I spoke about this during that second quarter, is that they are a young team and they're going to have fluctuations within games, within the whole season. So it's not unexpected from mine. The team that we're watching out here tonight is probably the team that I rolled up into the season thinking that we're going to watch week to week, but they've really surprised me. So
they've had a big week. They've been in sense of getting their family back. So
they've got the girls and the kids back, but you wonder with Mills going out of the midfield, and we know how much he's really stepped up in there and given them that extra drive along with Parker and Kennedy, who have been stalwarts for a long time. is it time to inject Isaac Heaney in there and just say, righto, mate, you've had a bit of a quiet half. I know how good you are. I remember we had Horst Longmire on earlier in the year, and he said, no, I really like him forward of the footy. Well, that's understandable because he's great when he is and when the ball's moving freely. But
anyone, no offence, Coleman, you can go and play Isaac Heaney's role tonight or what he's done in the first half.
Well, that's what I mean.
He's just been a statue.
So do you say, righto, mate, we need something different?
Yeah.
You got to change it up, don't you? Let's see whether you can inject yourself. I mean, I've been watching Big Bud a little bit, and you just like him to get on his bike a little bit more, but he's probably a one-on-one beast, isn't he? But not getting any opportunities at all, and it's a real reluctancy. They're staring him down and then just saying, "No, mate, we're going somewhere else." Which would the big key forwards that we've played with would not have stood for it, Beach, back in the day. But
it would have been pretty clear by now what we weren't doing, and
there would have been chairs
down in front of us down here would have been screaming us to stop. There would be a few explicits in there, but stop stuffing around with the ball through the midfield. Just get it into us. Give us a chance.
And chairs would have been everywhere at half-time. I've seen that a couple of times as well. But, look, I think that's the case. Like they're up to 198 touches already, the Swans, but a lot of them been sideways, and it's just been a bit boring and bland. Not the team that I thought I watched last week. Yeah. So if they can switch that around, but you've got to give credit to the Saints as well. Like, I think they've forced the Swans' hand a little bit. They've made them go sideways. They've defended the ground really well, and they've been up for the fight, which is all they can do with their seasons essentially on the line.
So I think that's worked against Sydney. It looks like they've gone into a plan to play that shorter kick mark, maintain possession, but Saints are actually defending really well.
They're defending the ground really well.
They're initially numbering off, finding their initial man, and then they're getting in aggressive positions of that team defence. We'd like to use that phrase, but and then making it hard for then Sydney to move the ball forward. And I said when it does, it's really slow, and then they are giving them the switching it, and of course what that does with the forwards that are ahead of the ball that are set up down the line, waiting for the long kick, is then like you have to get on your bike again and get to the other side of the ground to be that long kick method.
Yeah,
and get their contest, and then
adding 150 to the GPS. That's all we used to say.
That's right, and it makes it frustrating as forwards forward of the ball when you could have just taken us long down the line. And they got good small forwards. 3 weeks ago we saw them here. And I was loving what I made mention that their small forwards are doing such a good job. Just playing their role, getting front and square. The long kick came down the line. They were there to either win it, apply pressure. So, but yeah, enough. We've talked about a lot about Sydney there and what they're not doing. So, but the Saints are doing a lot right. But
mounting their case, Corby. They're mounting their case.
I just come from nowhere. 3 straight losses. They were ordinary against Carlton last week, and yet they were as good as Sydney were a little off in that first half. So a 3-goal lead for the Saints. Just all that in numbers form. Sydney, their profile looks nothing like the way the numbers are represented tonight. So usually a high disposal team. They've had 16 more touches than St Kilda, but 8 fewer marks. They haven't been able to control the footy the same way they usually do. They're not a big clearance team, and yet tonight they're plus 10 in clearances, plus 8 in centre clearances. So they're getting an advantage in that area. It hasn't translated to the scoreboard. And they're ordinarily a really high tackle team. So their pressure without the footy, they've laid only 26 tackles tonight compared to St Kilda's 39. So
only 10 in that quarter, pretty much. But I think that's just speaks to what we're saying and how well the Saints are setting up. They're down 10 in clearances, but their ability to stop the Swans from even having an impact forward of the footy and then go back the other way, especially from centres where they're down -8, the Saints. So they are defending very well, and the reason why they're up by 3 goals.
So that's this game. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard at half-time. Saints by 3 goals over Sydney. Half-time in Adelaide. The Crows 4-6-30 over Port Adelaide 1-5-11. So a 19-point lead for the Crows over the Power. More from you off the SMS coming up shortly. We'll check in with Ned Hall, see what's happening at the Olympics. The Boomers about to make their way onto the court, chasing that elusive medal in men's basketball. But first, the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. New South Wales has recorded 319 new cases of COVID-19 in the latest reporting period. 5 people have died, including a man and a woman in their 80s, a man in his 90s, linked to the Liverpool hospital outbreak. A man in his 60s and a man in his 80s also died after acquiring the virus in the community. Meanwhile, the local government area of Armidale in northwestern New South Wales is in lockdown after 2 new cases were confirmed. Victoria's Premier's flagging more vaccines will be available at state-run hubs as Victorians into their 6th lockdown since the pandemic began. Victoria recorded 29 new cases of coronavirus, all which linked to known outbreaks, but none were in quarantine during their infectious period. Queensland's recorded 13 new community-acquired COVID-19 cases, but authorities are encouraged there as they are all linked to the Delta outbreak involving several schools across Brisbane. Extra fire crews have been brought in from across Europe to help Turkey and Greece battle devastating bushfires. A volunteer firefighter has been killed north of Athens as Greece attempts to bring more than 150 blazes under control. And sailor Matt Belcher will carry the flag ahead of around 70 Australian athletes at the closing ceremony of the Tokyo Games tomorrow night. ABC News.
Enjoying the footy? There's plenty more to discover. Catch up on all the best interviews and action from the weekend's coverage with the Best of Grandstand podcast. Visit ABC Sport Online wherever you get your favourite podcasts and the ABC Listen app.
I wouldn't, kill women or kids. Just crazy guys.
So you know who it was?
Yes, I know. Shocking revelations.
Why didn't you tell him everything, Loretta?
Because I didn't want to die. As Kieran McGee closes in on the truth.
Even on his deathbed, the Juanita Nelson case was on his mind.
What does that tell you?
Guilty conscience.
Hear Unravel True Crime, Juanita, on the ABC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts. The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Free kick coming back to Marshall for the high tackle inside the centre circles here at Docklands. Boys kick that as high as the roof. Marshall, a high bomb inside the forward 50. Out the back is Kent, grabs it, snaps, and we got a goal.
Blake Hugh kicks into the man on the mark. McKenzie coming the other way. Chip over the top is good to King. Can they make the Swans pay? Hand pass to Butler off the outside of his boot. It wasn't the best kick. It landed in between two Saints. Higgins is good enough and snaps his third of the evening.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Down to the second term, 3-1. St Kilda by 18 points at half-time. In the other game, it's Adelaide by 19 over Port Adelaide. Half-time in Showdown 50. Earlier today, the Tigers by 33 points over North Melbourne, so they keep their season kicking. And Carlton ended their year with a disappointing 19-point loss to the Gold Coast. Let's see what's happening over in Tokyo. Ned Hall is across all of it for us. Ned.
Pumas have just taken to the court. They're underway against Slovenia. 2-0 is the score at the moment. It's that early on in the game, but they've just gone through the anthems and all those ceremonies as well, and they have got the first points on the board. In fact, they've just gone 4-0 up. Joe Ingles has just dropped another 2 points for them. The starting lineup for Australia: Nick Kay, Jock Landau, Matisse Thibault, Joe Ingles and Paddy Mills have started for Australia in that one. But as I say, very early stages there in the bronze medal match against Slovenia. Earlier on today, the USA beat France 87-82 to take out the gold medal in that competition. There's also action on the track at the moment. On the track, it's the women's 10,000 metres final, and it going on around that at the same time. It's the women's high jump final with Nicola McDermott and Eleanor Patterson both taking place there. Could be in for another long one tonight in the high jump. They started at 184, they've moved to 189, and we've only seen a couple of failures so far. The Swedish jumper Maja Nilsson is out of the competition. Everybody else is clear at 189, and Nicola McDermott, one of 3 competitors who decided to pass at 184 and come into the competition at the higher level. Waiting for them to start the third height, and that'll be 1m93. And still to come this evening as well, in around 35 minutes time from now, the men's 1500 metre final with Stuart McSween and Ollie Hall both taking place in that for Australia. Elsewhere tonight on the track, the men's Madison final, a bit disappointing. Callan O'Brien and Lee Howard didn't complete the competition there, but Matthew Glaetzer and Matthew Richardson are both through to the quarterfinals of the men's Kieran. Matthew Glaetzer had to go through the repechage, but he won his repechage heat, so he's straight into the quarterfinals from there. Matthew Glaetzer had to have his heat restarted after 2 riders crashed. He then came third, but was moved up to second after the Dutch rider was penalised, so he's straight through to the quarterfinals too. Cassiel Rousseau finished in 8th place in the men's 10-metre platform diving earlier on today, and the Aussie Stingers, the women's water polo team, finished 5th in their competition after beating the Netherlands by 14-7. In the final events in the canoe sprint class, the men's kayak 500-metre team finished 6th in the final. The women's team finished 7th in their final. Hannah Green finished 5th in the women's golf at 13 under par, with the winner being the American Corda. Minjee Lee finished in 29th And right back to the start of the morning, a 6 a.m. Tokyo time start. Sinead Diver came in 10th place in the women's marathon, Ellie Pashley 23rd and Lisa Whiteman in 26th. Of course, the men's marathon is the final athletic event. That'll get underway at around 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Time tomorrow morning. And the latest score from the basketball, Australia in the first quarter, leading Slovenia by 6 points to 2. Corbin.
Thanks, Ned. We'll keep a close eye on what happens there throughout the evening. Of course, the Boomers chasing that elusive medal, playing for bronze against Luka Doncic's national team. Half-time here at Docklands, though. Our focus, of course, on the footy. The Saints by 18 points at half-time off the SMS. Hi, guys. Keith here from Harvey Bay in Queensland. Enjoying the call as usual, but I'd love the game to be on TV. Go the Swans. It's on pay TV, but yeah, not free to wear this game this weekend across the country. Andrew in Wangaratta. Hi, guys. Great call as usual. So glad the footy is on during this awful COVID lockdown. Long live the footy. Thanks, Andrew. More than 60% of Australia is in lockdown at the moment, all up and down the east coast of Australia, barring Tassie. Shout out to our friends down there in the Apple Isle. Clarification for you, Beach, about the battery box. Off-grid, solar power collected in day.
Nice. Stored in batteries for use at night.
There you go.
Very good.
Very responsible as a new energy source. Kevin in Myrtleford. A lot of Saints fans down in that part of the world. Great call, boys. Good game to listen to in lockdown. Myrtleford. That's a good part of the world up there. Yes.
I was supposed to go on holiday in Myrtleford this week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Had to cancel that one.
They're not doing much more down there than we're doing up here, unfortunately, at the moment. Neil in Coburg. Hope the Swans get up also so they don't spank my Kangaroos next week. Fortunately, the Roo Boys losing earlier today by 33 points to Richmond. The other big story in footy today is the sanction for Toby Green. So he's been offered 3 games. The match review officer, Michael Christian.
Rubbish.
After that high fend-off on Patrick Dangerfield, it came back as high impact, high contact and careless. So offered 2 games. What do we think?
I'm not sure how it can be careless. He doesn't... Oh, yeah.
It's in it, like I think you may have mentioned before, as a footy action.
Yes.
And then
it's instinct.
Do you liken it to buddies or Aspreys earlier in the year where that's careless? Almost intentional.
It's not a footy action.
No, that's what we're saying. That's more like.
Even the fact that who was the other?
So I guess the closest comparison was Bailey Fritsch on Tom Howe.
Yeah.
So
and that was rubbish as well.
High fend off, got him in a similar area, I think, on the throat.
Yep.
Howe went off the ground, came back on and completed the game, and that was graded as medium. So in that case, Christian cited him. He got offered a suspension. He challenged it at the tribunal and beat the charge.
Yeah, because they said Powell got pushed into him essentially, but. You don't go around trying to elbow blokes in the head, in the throat, whatever it is.
Because it's Toby Green incident?
Wow, you get the feeling, don't you? But it's...
To play devil's advocate, if you're Patrick Dangerfield, is it reasonable to expect when I go to tackle someone I could end up with an elbow in the throat?
No,
but you could also tackle someone's shoulder and get a head in the jaw like it...
It's reasonable to accept or to expect, that there may be a fend-off or a resistance action, which essentially as it was, and we may mention that literally not even 0.1 of a second earlier, earlier, or he gets there later, and Toby Green's arms extended, and he's fending him off, arguably at the top of the chest.
It might be a hand to the throat.
It might be a hand to the throat as opposed to an elbow.
That hasn't quite fully extended, so that's where it's like he hasn't gone at him and said, righto, mate, cop this, you're going to cop one in the throat and not be able to speak.
So it's not a poor technique matter, it's a matter of the closing time. Dangerfield was on him too.
Well, I think it's just not just that. I think there's a combination of everything. But he said it's a footy action that you see regularly. And again, it's because he went off and he's got a throat injury. Is that because of that determines then the sanction or the length of the sanction or the grading of the contact? And then that just comes down to luck because Bailey Fritsch is, who did he get, sorry?
He got Tom Powell.
Tom Powell. That comes back onto the ground, completes the game. And Dangerfield, on the other hand, is off to hospital just because of luck.
Because that's the starting point for Michael Christian, is he needs to think, is this worth running through the table? Is it outside of what you'd ordinarily expect on a footy field? And so I guess what you guys are saying is it should have never been graded to begin with, so the actual outcome doesn't matter. Whether it's
a high free kick, if anything.
But,
or worse, or a suspension,
right? It was a free kick, it was too. But, a fine. So the fend is out of our game then, essentially. So that slide-in rule where we saw Gary Rowan break his leg, so that's been taken out. Take your legs out. That was catastrophic.
I just hate how they're trying. Like, there's just no accidents anymore. They can't accept that literally there's accidental head contact, there's accidental high contact. They're just trying to control every little bit of the game, and you can't. It's AFL football. That's one of the reasons why our game is so great, is there's so many variables, so many things can happen. There's accidents that happen. There's accidents that happen. Like, there's so many different things. I just hate how they're trying to control every aspect of the game, and then the outcome is any head-high contact is you'll get sanctioned, and you got to... Like, it just doesn't happen like that. And players don't have that much time to think on a footy field. That makes their game so great as well. Guys don't have time to think.
I can't wait for the non-footy players to come out and say that this is terrible and they should get 5 weeks for it.
The good thing is we do have a long time post-game to pull some of this stuff apart, so more from Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard throughout the night on that. The players are back on the ground. We're ready to go for the second half here. The Saints by 18 points over Sydney. In the other game, the Crows by 11 over Port Adelaide. Early stages, third term. We'll keep you across that throughout the night. But on Grandstand AFL, second half action here at Docklands. Saints by 18. You're with Andrew Mays.
Hickey won it down only as far as Jones, though. He spilt it. Hand pass from Parker to Kennedy. Short kick is a good one. Heaney takes the mark on his chest. He's 55 from goal. Thought about swinging around. Instead went to Franklin. Hit him on the bounce. Buddy from the pocket. Puts it to the goal square. Reed dropped the mark. Hand pass was lightning. And just getting the hand pass away was Hewitt. Although it's straight to Jones, his former teammate. Kick comes clear of the St Kilda defence. Butler couldn't take the mark. In a fight with McInerney, Marshall, hand pass to Sinclair, hand pass to Ken, who wanted to give it to Butler. Eventually did. He got it to Ross. This is all by hand at left half back. Now to Sinclair. Short chip is a good one to Marshall, who can reset at half back.
He's had a good year, Sinclair. Is a fringe player, really, coming into the year, and now found a roll across half-back. He's up to 14 for the night, and they missed him last week against the Blues. He goes short to Marshall. His long kick comes down the wing. Spills to Kennedy of the Swans. Hand pass to Lloyd, away to Hewitt. And he links up with McInerney, middle of the ground. Stabs a pass to Hickey against one of his old teams. Looks inside to forward 50, and Gordon got separation. Takes the mark left half forward for the Swans.
I can see why you like him, Beach. His young bloke was out here standing the mark not that long before this. And now he's worked his way back, read the play, and got on the end of a nice little chipping ball from Tom Hickey.
He's the only teenager on the ground, Errol Goulden at 19. He's got the young boy haircut as well as all the boys born in the 2000s with the shaved sides and the long at the back and the front. He's going to have a stab at it now from 50 metres out, and he loads up. The lefty drives it right to the goal line. Caulfield flew but missed it.
He's claiming it's touched.
He's trying
not
to say
convinced.
Touched it. I certainly didn't get a decisive touch on the footy. Did his fingernails scrape it on the way through? The kick's on target, and the ruling on the spot.
Sinclair saying it hit the post.
Caulfield's claiming he's touched it. Sinclair's claiming it touched the post. And then Buddy's claiming it's a goal.
The on-field call is touched.
Okay. So that'll help the Saints here. We'll need conclusive evidence to overrule that. What we so often see on these pictures, there's very, very rarely a definitive frame.
What's it got, Maisie? You've got the binos on it.
We need a better high-definition big screen TV.
Angle, we can see the ball is touched by the St Kilda defender
There we go.
before crossing the back of the goal line. Decision on scoreboard.
So a minor score for Sydney, but a more spirited start here to the second half. They've had a play in their front half through the first 3 minutes, and now the opening score in quarter number 3 are behind for the Swans. So they're 5-3. St Kilda are 8-2 and behind to Goulden. 3 minutes played, third term, Saints by 17.
Hill comes away with it. Long kick straight up the middle, looking for the mark of King. He won the footy down to the front of the pack to Dunstan. Hand pass to Higgins. Further afield to Jones on centre wing. Dummies, then goes by hand to Steele. He threw right half forward and kicks it off the instep. It was a shocking kick going inside 50. Hand pass put McCartan under plenty of pressure. Higgins tries to rip it out of his hands. The ball up at the top of 50. They had all the ingredients there, the Saints, except for that last kick inside 50.
Up it goes, centre half forward for the Saints. Hickey palms it down. Jones tackled, dispossessed, spills to Marshall. Saints across the half-forward line. Mackenzie to Burns, sweeping hand pass to Butler on the flank. Unkind bounce collected by Rampy. He's tackled, dispossessed. Hands it back to Burns, gives it to Butler by hand, and he kicks backwards. Finds Mackenzie, 70 out at half-forward. One way then the other, goes short to Dunstan. Dunstan off his preferred left boot, kicks to the top of the goal square. Membry flies, no mark. Falls front and centre. Cunningham for the Swans. Hand pass to Hickey, kicks out of the defensive arc.
Heaney had some work to do. He kept his feet importantly, won the contest against Caulfield, then has time to make his decision. Kick is at Franklin's ankles. He taps it in front of himself, kept control of the footy, then got the hand pass back to Heaney. This is a better kick going towards the top of 50. Papley takes the mark on his chest. Not many tall options inside 50. There's one drifting out the back. It's Reid, who's pushed underneath the ball. Kennedy roves, got his hand pass away. Now Goulden snaps on his left and goals. That's his second of the evening. Had his fist up the moment it hit his boot. And the Swans have the opening goal of the second half. The margin back to 11 points.
Man, Errol, your boy. Yeah, that was absolutely laced. But the one before that again to Buddy, there just wasn't.
They don't like him tonight, do they?
Not just that. I think Papley was originally the long one inside 50, where Heaney could have gone there just to kick it into space or to his advantage. Doesn't have to, again, be leading, but just giving him a chance. Whereas that last line and that long kick down the line, instead tries to hit up Buddy and got away with it. Buddy did a pretty good job, or a really good job, in fact, of keeping the ball out in front of him when it was kicked at his ankles. And then Heaney's kick eventually got to Papley, which was absolutely laced out. And then there was a pretty good kick from there to the top of the square where Reid had a mismatch on Mackenzie. And then Errol just, he led into this pocket and then worked really hard back to get back to that front and square, and then got on the end of it from a handball.
Swans haven't kicked back-to-back goals all night. They're within 11 here with the first of the third quarter. Hickey wins the hit out back in the middle, down to Hewitt. He's tackled, lost it. Hickey has another go. Sockers it to the outer wing. Mackenzie, though, collects for the Saints. Hand pass to Steele. Away to Hill. He works it out wide to Dunstan. Dunstan between wing and half forward. Pushes off the would-be tackle of Dawson. Feeds it further forward by hand of Marshall. Back to Dunstan. Gets his left leg free. Centre and kick's not good. And Lloyd takes the intercept mark inside the D50 for the Swans.
Gives it to Kennedy, who'll come out wider to right half back. Sets Florence a task. Ball hung in the air. Easy ball for Webster. Down to Membry. Works the 1-2 with Ross. Then heard a voice out the back as he was about to get tackled. It was Webster. His hand pass didn't reach him. Goulden got in and nicked it. Hand pass to the running Florence. Florence flares it into the middle. Wicks down on hands and knees. Takes the mark. Wicks out wide to McCartan. Just over his head. A little scrappy. Ball has to sit for him. He collects. Now Goulden gets under two tackles. And he's paid holding the ball. Thought he got the hand pass away. The umpire said no, holding the ball. Membry with the free kick in front of the interchange benches.
So Tim Membry kicked 3 last week against Carlton. He's got 1 so far tonight. 3's his equal season best, by the way. Up to 27 for the year in 19 games. Long ball to half forward. McCartan in a box seat. Can't complete the mark. Butler steals it. Front and centre. The small forward into the pocket. Wanted Kent. Brings it to ground and out of play. Forward pocket for the Saints. And a boundary throw in. St Kilda by 11 points. 8-2. Sydney 6-3. 7 played in the third. Meanwhile, over in Adelaide, it's the Crows by 10. 13 played third quarter there.
All thrown back into play. Hickey works his way to the front. Tap down to Parker, who spirals the ball out of there. Highmore through his hands. Marshall roved at the back. Hand pass to Caulfield. Caulfield to true centre half forward. Nice kick. Finds Mackenzie, who darts the kick over the top, and the leading Higgins takes the mark. 45 from goal, so this would take his best. He's thinking about passing.
That's just a small forward trait, man. He's not really thinking about it.
And he plays on. He kicks from 50. Geez, he's got plenty of that, Higgins, but he misses near side. One behind.
Never, ever pass.
Never, ever.
8-3-51, the Saints. 6-3-39, the Swans. 8 minutes gone, third term.
Had a back injury too. Missed 3 games. Jack Higgins returned against the Blues. Fair to say they were all pretty quiet in the front half last Friday night, but been busy tonight with 3 majors. Swans out to half-back as Lloyd, nice kick, finds McInerney, hand pass to Fox, long kick to half-forward, and Patley takes the mark between wing and half-forward, looks inside the forward 50 for the Swans. Heaney upstairs, Heaney got hands to it, can't mark, spills front and centre, Heaney follows up his own ball, snaps goalward, misses, trickles out of play, a couple of bounces alongside the behind post, so a throw in forward pocket for the Swans.
It's funny that when you get the ball inside 50 with a bit of speed and get in there quick, that forwards look a lot better with a bit more space around them.
Saints lead it by 2 goals. Thrown back into play. Chance here deep forward. Hickey takes it out of the ruck and then ran into a teammate. Ball bobbled free. Webster onto it. Kicks clear quickly. Contest at half forward. Parker wins it. Hand pass. Dawson slams it on the boot. Back towards Hickey. Marshall almost took the mark. Now a chance for the Saints through Webster, who puts it out in front. And then going to ground at the wrong time was Florence. Well done by Burns to regather, then just kick straight out of bounds, and that'll be deliberate every day of the week. Lloyd with the free kick.
Jill Best and Ferris winner across the ground to Dill Stevens. Picked 5 back in 2019. So coming towards the end of his second year, the 20-year-old off contract. Drafted out of South Australia and limited game time, so just his 7th game for the year. Comes inside the centre square to Rampy. Long ball to centre half forward. Big mark, Dawson. He was 3rd in line behind Buddy and Wilkie. And Jordan Dawson put the mitts up and clunks it overhead.
Seems to be, as we spoke about probably in the first quarter, Beach, didn't we, that he's playing more that forward half role now. Just with his ability to catch it 190 centimetres. Excuse me. Hopefully he can finish the work here. They've started well in the second half, the Swans.
He's a beautiful kick of the footy. The left footer, Jordan Dawson, nurses it through. And for the first time in the game, the Swans have back-to-back goals. They skip out to 7-3-45, St Kilda 8-3-51, and the margin closes to 6. St Kilda's way, 11 played, 3rd term.
Well, it looks to me, too, that the message, like we talked about from the coaches, is just get the ball in there a little bit quicker. There's Rampy in the middle of the ground. I think in the first half they would have tried to maintain possession and find, that almost that perfect play going inside 50 by maintaining possession, but he was happy just from the middle of the ground to kick it in long, get it to a contest. And it was somewhat isolation. It was 2v2, really. It was one of the rare times where they kicked it in long, excuse me, where it wasn't a 4v4 or a 5v4 or something like that, where Saints have got numbers back. But again, you may mention Dawson's disability, just a bit of a mismatch. When you got Heaney, Reid, Buddy, he's a good 4th stringer because he's good on the ground, good in the air, so he's actually a really hard matchup for arguably like a 4th kind of tall defender.
Margin back to a goal in favour of the Saints. They need one in their second half to get themselves going. Jones, dummy, he can break free, takes a bounce as well, goes inside 50, tracking back Blakey, there's a whistle on play, and there might be a down the field free kick against Dawson on that occasion. And this will be taken by Kent, 20 metres out, slide angle to the right.
Actually didn't see what happened, did we? It looked like he got it off clean. There wasn't a big hit, but unforced error there from the Sydney player, whoever it was. There's no need to get contact on him whatsoever.
Now, he's probably only 5 metres away from centre, and he goes to snap Kent, and it pays dividends. He's got 2. The margin back to 2 straight goals in favour of the Saints. 12 minutes played, 3rd term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, we saw him set up for a set shot. I think it was in the second quarter there. In the first, was it?
Took that mark in front of King.
Yeah, that's right. And we was trying to hand it to King, and that's why we said, now we know why. And now we definitely know why. Because he's one of those guys now just setting up on the side from 30 out, straight in front, kicking a snap. So another man that's got the hibbity-jibbities in front of goal. Another left footer.
They don't tend to like running straight, do they, the lefties? They like to have that little arc.
Yeah, that's fine. Just kick a drop punt.
He's got 2 for the night. He's had 3 shots, though. 1 failed to score. And St Kilda back out by 12 points here. 13 played, 3rd term. Sydney only led the game really for a minute when Gordon kicked the first goal 6 minutes in, and the Saints locked it up a minute later. Back in the middle, Kennedy first disposal. A hand pass away to Patley. Kicks inside 50. Franklin was held. Wilkie just grabbing onto the jumper. Ray Chamberlain awake to it. and Franklin will get the free. True centre-half forward. He'll kick from 40 out.
What do you know?
Yeah, I know, but that's what's more staggering for me. It's probably that sticks out like a sore thumb how he's so undersized, Wilkie. He does a great job. He's turned himself into like an unbelievable player, considering the circumstance where he came from. But you got to get in there quick to him, because if he doesn't mark it on the ground, he's so good. And two, Wilkie's, I don't think that even if he's in a strong position, that Buddy didn't have it over.
He's out of his weight division.
Out of his weight division. So just get it into it.
The biggest star in the game, Lance Franklin, goes back, hits the post, thumps it in halfway up. So 1-1 for the night for Franklin. A runner left foot is kicking goals already in this third quarter. It can't continue here. Saints by 11, 14 played third term.
Connolly with a kick out. There's been a free kick paid as well. It's going St Kilda's way. King at the front of that pack. Receives it. King short to Wilkie. Inboard. He's called to play on. Hand passes to Caulfield. Now Caulfield attacking. Kick through the middle is good to Hill. He doesn't get on his bike. Instead kicks with his left out to the wing where Ross can take it. He's got a bit of space. Hand passes to Sinclair. Could loop another one over the top. It's a good one too to Burns, who kicks inside 50 to the top of the square. The Flyers come. Blakey with the fist. McKenzie down. Palmed it to King, who started this and snaps and goals. He's got two. And the Saints with two in a row themselves. 10-3-63, 7-4-46 the Swans. The margin back to 17 points, 15 minutes played in this third term.
They worked it well, didn't they, the Saints there? Wasn't sure. With coming out wide again, Bradley Hill had the ball in the middle of the ground, that kick from Caulfield, but swung it out quickly, and Seb Ross took that ground in front of him, had a bounce, little handball over the top. They just had that overlap. They were able to keep getting it forward, and Burns hooked it in the top of the square, essentially. A nice little knock-on from McKenzie, wasn't it, just to give King a chance. Not bad when your big 200-plus centimetre full forward can just snap it over his shoulder like that.
In the showdown, time on third quarter. Still Adelaide, 17 points the margin there too. So the Crows 6-7, the Power 3-8. 17 points here as well. St Kilda lead it. And Joyce giving Marshall a bit of a chop out in the ruck. He wins the hit out here, but Sydney emerged with a footy. Heaney out of the centre square, kicks inside the forward arc. Franklin goes to ground in front in a tangle with Wilkie, and Sinclair takes the intercept mark back flank. Pokes a pass out to Wilkie. Still on half-back, gives it to Crouch. Crouch's hand pass to Bradley Hill. He switches play out to left half-back. Opposite back flank, Ross takes the mark.
Ross, hand pass, finds Highmore. His kick went about 8 metres and went out of bounds on the full. And Ross is absolutely filthy. A couple of his teammates further afield too. Parker with the free kick. Couple of kicks from goal for the Swans. They trail by 17. Left of short option, so he's going to be forced to go long here. Puts it inside 50. Franklin sitting underneath it. Got his hands to it. Out the back, McKenzie. Hand pass to Joyce, who turns around to Highmore. Back to the goal square by hand to Hill. Attacking kick is a good one, and he finds Sinclair 30 out from his own goal.
Sinclair out wide to Caulfield. Marks back pocket. He kicks to half-back, and Connolly against the boundary line. Turned 20 yesterday, Leo Conley. Goes on a 45, daring kick, turns it over. Florent intercepts, runs, carries, kicks goalward and back in back. Highmore takes the mark in the defensive goal square for the Saints. He goes out wide to half-back, and McKenzie back flank for the Saints.
McKenzie, short, gives it to Connolly. He's got a couple of options in the middle. Instead, he goes out wide this time. Mark taken by Joyce, right half-back. Hill presents inside defensive 50. That's ignored. He's going to go longer instead. High kick around the wing. Membry, the flyer, became the spoiler in the end and finds the boundary line out of bounds just forward of centre.
Just on the demographics of the team, a little unusual. St Kilda, every player in their 20s. They haven't got a 30-year-old and they haven't got a teenager. Sydney have 4 players over the age of 30, including, obviously, Buddy at 34. They've got the youngest player on the ground in Goulden at 19.
Ball thrown back into play, lands on the logo. Joyce and Reid in the ruck. Heaney comes away with it for the Swans. Kicks inside 50. Caulfield just got a hand in there to run interference. Wilkie able to mop up at half-back. His kick's a little dicey. Put it in between Hill and Crouch. Hill's able to gather. He turns around and delivers nicely to Kent. Geez, he should have been paid in the back if he didn't take the mark. Umpire wave play on instead, and then another stoppage will ensue just forward of centre wing for the Swans.
Jess Webster's on the boundary. Jess.
Yeah, potential injury concern here for St Kilda. Max King has just headed into the rooms. He came off looking a little ginger. The physios were looking at the right groin area, and then now he's gone inside the rooms to be further assessed.
Thanks, Jess. Keep us updated. So Max King with a couple already tonight. From the stoppage, Butler kicks down to half forward. Sharman off the deck. Whacks it back, but straight to Blakey. Swans win it. Cunningham away to Heaney. He's getting a bit more of a roll in the midfield. Hand pass away to Rampy. Comes back to Heaney. Off the back flank. He works it out wide by hand to McCartan. Long kick down that city wing. In the box seat, nice mark. Cotfield floats through and grabs it just in front of the logo city wing. St Kilda by 17, approaching time on in the third.
Cotfield flares it out wide. Kent. He can go inside 50 with this next possession. He's got Hill just forward of centre wing, and that's where he's going to head instead. Takes a bit off the kick. Hill takes it just outside the centre square. Now he runs inside the centre square and puts it to the hot spot, normally where King would be. No mark taken. Cunningham burst onto it. Good tackle by Ross. Got him ball and all. He was going nowhere. 30 metres out. It'll be a stoppage.
Another scoring opportunity presents for St Kilda, having kicked the last two in the game. They've led most of the night after taking the lead early in the opening quarter. Reid does the ruck work, wins it down to Parker. Hand pass back to Reid, works it out to Hewitt. His hand pass to Goulden. Back flank, dangerous kick across the defensive 50, and Membry intercepts, floating through and marking. He went to Lloyd in a 2-on-1. Kent and Membry closed him down, and Membry floating back takes the mark. He'll shoot from 25 out right half forward.
It's always a risky one, that when it's got to travel so far. It's probably nearly a 50-metre kick there when it's not real obvious. There's a couple of guys surrounding him, so Membry did a really good job to read that and read the cues of the kicker. And he came off his direct opponent who was shutting down the switch in the goal square and floated back for a pretty good mark. This would be a pretty important goal if he was able to kick it.
One of three against his old team. They taste a little sweeter as Membry puts it through for his second, and St Kilda open up a new high water mark. It's up to 23 points the Saints' way. Time on third term. St Kilda 11-3-69. Sydney 7-4-46. Brett Delidio, Brendan Goddard, Grandstand AFL.
Geez, you're being pretty generous there with young Errol. I understand you like him, but it looked like just a left footer not being able to use his right peg and drop it down the line.
Yeah. Well, that kick just had to... Well, I don't think he's quite got it anywhere. It's got to be low and hard over 50, wasn't it? It was just a bit too... But you don't have to take that risk when...
Well, that's it. They've already tried to exit. He's come out. They've won the ball back inside the defensive 50. They just get it down the line, get it to centre wing, allow your big forwards to make a contest, get it out of bounds. Doesn't have to score from defensive 30, as we've probably been told a few times.
Brush that dust off his right peg.
That balance
typical
leg.
left footer.
That's it. Brand new boot.
Back in the middle. As Corbin mentioned, a game-high 23-point lead for the Saints. What have the Swans got? Hand pass comes the way of Parker, who snaps out of the centre circles. It bounces inside 50. Sinclair tracking back for the Saints. He gathers. Hand pass over the top is good to Webster. Further hand pass to Crouch, back to Webster. He just gets around Heaney, then a dinky little kick. He's able to find Connolly, who showed a bit of toe to get away from Stevens. Then from left half back, kicks towards Membry over the top. Didn't complete the mark. Good attempt. Fox is dispossessed. McKenzie hands it on. Dunstan shoveled a ball underneath to Higgins, who scrubbed it inside 50, but coming out was Kennedy. Kennedy short kick finds Fox right half back.
Oh, Fox, that's not it either. It kicks it straight to Marshall. A couple of turnovers here. Marshall looks into centre square. Kent takes the mark, wants to move it quickly. Butler running back towards goal. Blakey there with him. Blakey spoils, does well. Should sit for Cunningham, back pocket. It's a hand pass back in Blakey's direction. Sharman, though, first to arrive. Paddles it to Hill. He's locked up straight away. Hill tackled, taken to ground, pinged, holding the ball. The umpire said he tried to fend off the tackler. Gee, it was set upon as soon as he grabbed it, Bradley Hill. And one of the two tacklers, Errol Goulden's going to get the free kick back pocket for the Swans. Now, Saints by 23, 24 travelled third term.
Gordon across the face of goal, finds McCartan, right back pocket. Short kick to Fox. Still inside defensive 50.
This is where the Saints have been really good. They just haven't allowed that uncontested chain. Sydney are trying to create it, but they're numbering off really well. They might give them the pockets there and the switch, but they can't go anywhere with it.
Parker Pate holding the ball too on the wing. The Saints come away with it. Steele on the end of it. Kicks inside 50. Good kick too, and Sharman takes the mark. 40 out from goal. 45-degree angle to the left.
And then they're forced to kick down the line, and then one of the first times where Buddy's not one kick away, he's actually too far away from the contest. He's a kick and a half away, so they actually have no representation down the line where the ball's going to fall. And Saints just outnumbered on the ground, and then they've got a heap of space then to go back when they do win the ball and get possession of it. And Steele, great decision, great vision.
Kicks St Kilda's first of the evening. In he comes. It's swinging back late, but not quite enough. One behind. So one behind, one goal, and one out on the full for Sharman tonight. Licorice all sorts. 11-4-70 the Saints, 7-4-46 the Swans. 24 minutes played third term.
So they've used 38 players, the Saints, 5 debutants. He is the most recent of them, Cooper Sharman. Lloyd takes some ground and then a long kick towards the city wing. Reid tackled as soon as he grabbed it by Sinclair. Sinclair comes up with a footy. Feeds a hand pass forward. No one there, though. Here's McCartan. His hand pass picked off as well to Steele of the Saints. Hand pass to Ross. Runs to 70 out. Kicks into the pocket. He was tackled as he kicked. Turned it over. Blakey with the intercept for Sydney. Goes short to Hickey. And he marks it a half back for the Swans. It's the Saints by 4 goals. Time on third quarter.
Just travelled 15. Hickey, the ruckman, looking for a switch of play. It's dicey. It's a shocker. Oh, Higgins almost intercepted, knocked away from him at the last moment. The Swans breathed a deep sigh of relief. Cunningham with the ball now. Right back pocket. Dawson up. Good fly and took it on the way down. Nice little specky for Dawson working his way up to right half back this evening. Dawson keeps it low. Really give Franklin much of a chance. Just volleying out of mid-air. Side-footing it almost is Wilkie. And it comes back to Burns, who goes inside 50. Sharman again. He's got it 40 out. He wants to play on this time. Higgins is out the back. Tracking back. Takes it at the top of the square. And the margin is going to be 5 goals deep in the third term in favour of the Saints.
I love watching small forwards go back towards goal. They would have been running the Olympics, a lot of them. Geez, they find a yard, don't they, when they're going back towards goal? He was motoring then, Jack Higgins, to get into goal scoring. He was the one before as well. 2 in the first, 1 in the second, and now another one in the third. He's got 4 for the night, Jack Higgins. 12-4-76, 7-4-46. The margin, 5 straight goals in favour of the Saints. It's going to be hard from here for the Swans. 26 played third term on Grandstand AFL.
Dawson's such a good, we've talked about him a lot. Such a good ball user, great decision maker, and he just tries to create something out of nothing as opposed to just kicking it to Buddy to his advantage. Tries to hit this laser pass on a slightly back, smart side. Yeah, slightly back into the corridor from there. But saying that, the Saints have done, again, a really good job to number off. They found an uncontested chain, got it to 60 out from the Saints goal. Sydney did, and then they just couldn't find anything else. There was no uncontested possession again. They were forced to try and create something out of nothing. And then the turnover came, and again, there was too much space going forward. And as you may mention, Higgins and the small forwards got on their bike and running back towards goal with space in front of them.
St Kilda with 4 in a row. They lead by 30 points. Biggest lead of the night. Alarm bells for the Swans, if not already, as Dawson gets the centre break, kicks in Franklin's direction, and Sinclair takes the intercept mark centre half back. Dangerous kick into the middle of the ground. Well weighted to Dunstan. No mark. Stolen by his opposite number, Cunningham. Goes short to Kennedy. And Kennedy marks inside the centre square. Swans desperately need one to stop the bleeding and then try and work their way back into it with a quarter to play. It's a bit at stake for them as well as they chase a top 4 finish and positioning either for 5th and 6th on the ladder with Brisbane. The Lions a game behind them coming into the weekend. They play Freo tomorrow. Kennedy's kick inside the forward 50. Franklin competes in the air. Spills down to Sinclair again. He rebounds out of defensive 50, but Blakey marks his kick. 70 out. Centre half forward for the Swans. Crowded forward 50. Blakey, perfect kick into the path of Parker. It slips through his hands. Out to meet it on the lead. Now Dunstan runs himself into trouble. Pinged, caught, holding the ball. Free kick. And the Swans are going to get a look at it. Dunstan just a little too much, and Will Hayward's going to take the free. 25 out straight in front.
I was watching Ray then.
Yes, so was I. Yeah, it was the theatre.
Yeah, he actually looked towards the out-of-position umpire because he didn't have a great view of it, to be fair. So if there's high contact and you're watching and listening at home, if you're watching the screen, and there was high contact on the camera, Ray couldn't see it, but he looked to his out-of-position umpire to see and then called holding the ball. So didn't have a great view of the actual tackle. So for him, it was holding the ball.
Hayward cashes in on the free, pops it through. Gives a little bit of a clap to a few of the Sainers too, trying to get the Swans up. 24 points, St Kilda's lead. And a much-needed one for the Swans. They move to 8-4-52. St Kilda out in front as they've been all night. They're 12-4-76. Half-hour mark, third term.
Well, I wasn't sure about that kick from the Lizard going inside. I thought, but he's 1v1, a little bit of space just in front of him. And you watch the Cats do it so well with Tom Hawkins. They just put it to his side, don't allow him to push off, use his strength, come into the footy. But it was a fantastic kick in the end. Parker just completely spilt the beans, and you hardly see him do that. But they followed up. Dunstan probably had 3 or 4 opportunities, didn't he, to get rid of the pill. But essentially, when you try and take on 3 or 4, you're going to come unstuck inside defensive 30, and Ray was there for the theatric holding the ball.
I thought it was really good umpiring.
Yeah,
looking at the other umpire. Hickey won it down to Hewitt, back in the middle. Hewitt can get the clearance here, gets onto his left boot, which is his opposite, goes inside 50, no mark taken. Sinclair at the back, taps it to his own advantage, gathers, then clears the immediate danger, and the siren goes. Good third term for the Saints. They kicked 4 goals to 3. They extended their lead by 1 straight kick. It was 18 at half-time. It is now 24 points at three-quarter time. 12-4-76 St Kilda, 8-4-52 the Swans at the moment. That third quarter running 30 minutes and 31 seconds. In terms of the goal kickers, Higgins has been the star up forward for St Kilda. He has 4, 2 to King, Kent and Memory, in singles to Sharman and Steele for the Swans. Dawson and Goulden with 2 apiece. Franklin, Hayward, Florent and Papley with singles.
Couple of upsets brewing tonight. Saturday night footy round 21 in the AFL. So the Saints by 24 here over the Swans, while it's three-quarter time in Adelaide, and the Crows still lead Port 6-8-44. Port Adelaide 4-10-34. So if you think the Swans are missing an opportunity tonight, Port Adelaide, if there's ever a night to slip up, they're probably looking at the score here and thinking, well, our spot's not in jeopardy the way we thought it probably would be. So Port Adelaide a game clear of the Swans at the moment, and both of them trailing their bottom 10 opponents at three-quarter time. Off the SMS, Beach, we've been talking about the wrong profession for you and the career move. We've been talking about umpiring. Adrian in Hampton East says, hi, Grandstand, could Brendan Goddard please replace Michael Christian on the MRO? Make a lot of sense. Go the Blues.
Put my hand up for it when the job comes up next.
Glenn in Hobart, in relation to Toby Green's decision, I agree with BJ. I'd hate to be an umpire. The game has always had grey areas, but is now so blurred it's impossible. The league have taken what is essentially a really simple game and overcomplicated it to within an inch of its life. From Glenn in Hobart.
Just on that, I was thinking, this is a footy overused term in football, control the controllables. It feels like the AFL are just trying to control too many things, the uncontrollables. That's simply how I put it.
Three-quarter time here at Docklands, a 24-point lead for the Saints on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
My mum gave me a kidney 13 years ago, and then 3 years ago, I was a very, very lucky recipient of a kidney and a pancreas.
Wow, Julie.
So now I'm not a type 1 diabetic.
Jacinta Parsons.
You sound so wonderfully positive.
You know, now I have a 9-year-old little boy who I can run around. Once I got my mum's kidney, then I was able to have him.
Jacinta Parsons. Weekdays from 12:30 on ABC Radio Melbourne.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Papley
takes the mark on his chest. Not many tall options inside 50. There's one drifting out the back. It's Reed, who's pushed underneath the ball. Kennedy Roves got his hand pass away. Now Golden sets on his left and goal.
Gil Stevens comes inside the centre square to Rampy. Long ball to centre half forward. Big mark Dawson. He's a beautiful kick of the footy. The left footer Jordan Dawson nurses it through.
Sinclair could loop another one over the top. It's a good one too to Burns, who kicks inside 50 to the top of the square. The Flyers come. Blakey with the fist. McKenzie down. Palmed it to King, who started this and snaps and goals. He's got two. Dawson keeps it low. Really give Franklin much of a chance. Just bowling out of mid-air. Side-footing it almost is Wilkie. And it comes back to Burns, who goes inside 50. Sharp it again. He's got it 40 out. He wants to play on this time. Higgins is out the back. Tracking back. Takes it at the top of the square. Two in the first. One in the second. And now another one in the third. He's got four for the night, Jack Higgins.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
We'll kick it down to Jess Webster in just a moment as well, with an injury concern around Max King in that quarter, but St Kilda still winning the term. They've won every quarter tonight. They led by 5 at quarter time, 18 at the half and 24 at three-quarter time. Jess, any update on Max King?
Yeah, he re-emerged from the rooms at the three-quarter time break and did a fitness test in the forward line just to test out that right groin. He has rejoined the main group as they're getting their final messages. So he didn't look 100% to me, but looks like they might roll the dice and keep him out there for this last quarter.
Thanks, Jess. Brendan Goddard, Brett Delidio through three quarters, Saints by 24.
Yeah, well, it's sort of been a little bit to what I didn't think was going to happen tonight, essentially, obviously with my pre-game prediction there, Corby, but they've been good, the Saints, haven't they? As we spoke about at half-time, their ability to defend the ground. It's been a little bit concerning for them out of the middle of the ground, though. They're down 17-5 centre clears, and they're down 14 clearances in total, but their ability to defend off the back of that has been first class. The inside 50s has won the difference in favour of the Swans, would you believe? So that's concerning, I think, from the point of view that the Swans haven't been able to get it in and score. But as we've spoken about, and BJ's alluded to quite a bit, their inability just to back in their forwards 1v1, either down the line or get it in quickly. We saw Heaney have his best quarter there. I think he had 7 or 8 touches.
But like you highlighted that he should be throwing the midfield. He is spending a bit more time around the ball there, but having an impact.
Well, that's it, and that's what when he's been starved of opportunity up in the front end, he's gone into the midfield. Starting forward to start this last quarter, they're going to need to get the first one and get it quickly, I would have thought, the Swans, if they're any sort of a sniff. But I like the way the Saints have gone about it all day. They've just been able to hold them at arm's length, tackled well. They're leading that as well, smashing them 54-33. It's a really low tackling game for the Swans. They're usually well renowned for their ability to keep it in tight and lock them up. So
I think defensively the Saints, it's really stood out, their ability to slow Sydney down, stop the uncontested possessions. The ones they have got are their backwards kicks, sideways, that they aren't really gaining ground and going forward with the ball. So there's been a real improvement from the Saints just defensively. And then from then, when they do turn it over, they're going really quick off the turnover and going into space.
Sydney with plenty to do. It's St Kilda by 24 points. As Razor Ray gets us going in the final term, Hickey hooks it down behind for Sydney. Hapley almost stood on the footy. Dunstan collects it, gets the centre break for St Kilda. Kicks out to half forward. Ball pitches, bounces to McInerney of the Swans. Hand pass to Lloyd, back to McInerney. Just gets his kick away as Butler affects the kick. Great chase down effort, and Dunstan takes the intercept mark, middle of the ground for the Saints.
Dunstan holds things up and puts it into space. It's a floater. It almost came off. Burns dropped the mark at the last moment. Back to Hill, who shrugs one tackle. Hand pass further out wide. Ball sits for Highmore. Lightning hand pass is good to Steele, who hooks it back off his right, inside 50. Lloyd read it the best out of anyone. Took it on his chest. Immediately plays on. Hand pass to Cunningham, who was backtracking, flat-footed. Did well to get around Higgins. Hand pass to McInerney, hand pass to Lloyd, and Lloyd now to Heaney at left half back, who takes the mark. Heaney looking inboard, then hooks it back at the last moment to the wing, and Papley and Jones collided. Both went down. Papley's holding his ankle as he gets up. We'll get down for an update But he hobbles away from this one. Jones tracks back. And then he passes out wide to Wilkie. Wilkie at right half back. Goes back to Joyce, who's in the right back pocket.
Darragh Joyce in for his 4th game of the year. One of the 5 the Saints brought in. He kicked out to half-back. Big error. Ross went without it. In the pocket, Florence snaps it back to the teeth of goal. Highmore punches it away. Ross is going to get a second go. Off the back flank. Better disposal. Hand pass out to Dunstan. Links up with Zach Jones. Arches the back. Runs away from Blakey. Links up with Bradley Hill up over halfway. Calls the forward towards him. Kicks in the King direction. Butler gets there first. Chucks it on the boot. Sharman low down. Takes it. Shoots a hand pass over his shoulder. Higgins sockers it back to Butler's advantage. Just missed him off the ground. In the back pocket for the Swans. Heaney trying to clear. Kicks it into Membry. They've done the 1% as well all night. Membry smothers the kick. Out of bounds it goes. 20 metres out from the Saints goal. Boundary throw in the forward pocket. And Max King back out there, but not moving too freely with that sore groin. 2 minutes into the last. Saints by 24.
It's high-octane stuff, but we haven't had a score yet in the opening couple of minutes. Hickey wins it out of the ruck. Slams it on his boot. Ball pitches in front of Webster, actually bounced back into the field of play. He receives the hand pass from Marshall, who mopped up, then kicks to Steele, who takes it low down on his chest. Left half forward. He'll look inside 50. Good kick too to Membry, who takes the mark. 45 out from goal, 45-degree angle to the left.
How much has Jack Steele elevated his game over the last couple of seasons? He was just I won't say run-of-the-mill, but just a midfielder who'd run with and try and negate the best midfielders. He obviously learned a hell of a lot in that time. His kicking, his ability to go forward, kick goals, tackles as good as anyone. He's a leading tackler in the competition. Leads by example incredibly well for this team.
Membry comes in. He'll kick from right on 50. Gets under it a fair way. Actually won't make the distance. Punched almost out of mid-air. King punched through for one behind. 77 plays 52. The margin 25 points. 3 minutes played final term.
Milestone tonight for Jack Steele as well, playing his 100th game for St Kilda, so game number 117 of his career after starting with the Giants. Swans have worked it up nicely here. Cunningham to Reid, who takes a pack mark on the wing. Gives it to Papley, running by, kicks deep. Gordon one-on-one. Spoil comes from Webster at the back, did well. Down to Joyce of the Saints. Last line of defence, St Kilda work it out as Webster goes on a run. Has a couple of bounces up against the boundary line city side. Webster has to be precise, it is. Finds Jones back flank for St Kilda. Saints by 25, 4 minutes into the last.
Jones thought about the hand pass, went the kick instead. It's okay. Finds Burns. He's looking across half back. Good kick to Highmore. He gives it immediately to Wilkie. He was almost caught on his right. Gets onto his left. Kicks it to McKenzie. Right half forward's got Marshall inside 50. Went a bit more central to Membry. Punched away from him. Lloyd there to mop up for the Saints. Hand pass to Hickey. Hand pass missed everyone. Coming through McKenzie and then rifles it into the chest of King, who takes it on his knees. And he will kick from 20 metres out, 45-degree angle to the right.
Well, it's fair to say the Saints players are all off. Rampy, the defenders, McCartan, I think, took off on the open side, even though Hickey did turn onto his left here and come this interchange side. But that's the reason why King finds himself in so much space off the turnover. But great defensive decision by McKenzie to come forward there to defend an stray handball from Hickey. Found McKenzie straight on the chest.
This to make it very difficult for the Swans. King comes in and he misses. One behind, 26 points the margin now in favour of the Saints. 5 minutes played, final term on Grandstand AFL.
Kicked only 4 goals, Sydney, after quarter time. St Kilda by 5 at quarter time, 18 at the half, 24 at three-quarter time. It's now 26, so they keep pulling away from the Swans. They need to make something happen dramatically in the last. Papley goes, Lloyd rather long, straight down the middle. Bounce off the head of Franklin, spills down towards Marshall. His kick smothered by Parker, who wins the footy for the Swans. Hand pass to Hickey. Kicks to centre half forward. Gordon and Sinclair in a one-on-one. Unkind bounce for Sinclair. Gordon paddles it out to Dawson at half forward. Gives it to Papley. Papley trying to get back on his right boot. Pokes the pass into the pocket. Highmore spoils. Close to the boundary line. Dawson to Highmore. He walks it out of play. The ump's happy enough with that. Boundary throw in. Forward pocket for the Swans. So they need to start scoring here, Sydney. Already 6 travelled final term. Saints by 26. In the showdown, it's a little closer. Adelaide by 4 over Port, 10 minutes in the last.
Goalless in this final term. Heaney tries to break away from the stoppage. Couldn't do so. Ball held to him. We'll have a ball up inside attacking 50. Chance here for the Swans to get on the board in this final quarter. The margin 26 points. Was 18 at half-time and 5 at quarter-time. Ball to be thrown up here by umpire Chamberlain. Hickey won it down. Kennedy tapped it away. Fight's on now. Papley, was he taken in the back? Yes. Free kick for Papley, left forward pocket. Before he takes his kick, let's head downstairs. Jess Webster.
Yeah, St Kilda have made the decision on Max King. They've pulled him off. They've got ice on the right groin. Subbed out. Jack Vitale has come into the game.
Big loss there for the Saints. King out of the game. And Papley with a chance to bring the Swans back to within 20. You back him in from here, left forward pocket. He's a couple of metres in from the boundary. He'll snap this around the body, kicks and doesn't let his teammates down. That's his second of the evening, Tom Papley. And the Swans have to make their move and make it quickly. It's back to 20 points. 7 minutes played, final quarter on Grandstand AFL.
It took a little bit longer than I thought it would. They said they needed one really quickly after that three-quarter time break. 7 minutes into the game, or into the last quarter, I should say. But a nice little finish from Tommy Papley. Never any issues with him snapping one round the corner. There's nothing shorter than him never passing those ones off. A nice goal, nonetheless. Only 3 goals down, so every chance still the Swans. I'm not writing them off. The Saints have built their case very well, Corby, all night, but the Swannies just doing enough. They're hanging in there at the moment.
They're full of praise of them all year, particularly having played the majority of their games outside of New South Wales. So this is now their 12th game on the road, having been in a hub for most of the season. They played 8 games in New South Wales earlier in the year. It'll be a big turnaround for them tonight. They're back to 20 points down. It's still yet to break free of the centre square. We'll have a ball up again as Parker lays a tackle alongside the centre circles. Up it goes. Hickey whacks it down, trying to get it to the advantage of McInerney. Goes without it. Dunstan pushes it on. Advantage applied. He was pushed in the back. Ross is away, almost run down by Buddy, who never gave up on the chase. Ross gives it to Hill. Kicks to Higgins. Out to meet it. Can't mark. Spills front and centre. Butler went without it, had a little fumble, now tries to soccer off the deck, he's lost it. Hewitt's hand pass under pressure is going to be picked off. Now Higgins into the pocket for Butler, one way then the other, snaps over his head towards the top of the goal square. Sharman down there, Membry flies, neither mark, and Stevens trying to rush it through for a minor score. He finds the safety of the behind line, and a minor for the Saints. They lead by 21, 9 played final term. Meanwhile, in the showdown, it's Adelaide by 3, 14 travelled final quarter.
Lloyd straight up the middle, finds Dawson, 40 metres from goal. Dawson looking for a way out. Keeps it low, straight up the middle, over the head of Parker, who becomes the tackler. Haywood in there, Parker fights on at ground level. Steele got a hand pass away. Was good enough, although turned over here. Haywood, hand pass, he's mobbed by Crouch. Crouch backwards by hand to the feet of Dunstan. Turnover ball. Florent makes sure it doesn't come out. Umpire circling. He's going to play holding the ball here.
Lee, come on.
Not happy with that one, Beach?
They just made a great contest. They essentially kind of both went to ground.
And so a free kick's going the way of Crouch.
You better not just to leave the ball and let the Saints kind of pick it up and then take like a gentleman.
Yep. Not much option there, but to concede the free kick if they're going to pay that. Crouch to the hot spot. Memory from behind. Marshall the punch in the end. Dawson had a fresh airy. Cunningham coming through. He's tackled. Ball spills free at the last moment. Dawson over the top. Ball still in there. Now there's been a free kick paid for in the back. It's going the way of Cunningham eventually.
Just repeating the news from Jess. A suspected groin injury for Max King, so subbed out of the game. Having kicked 2 goals tonight, Jack Vitale is on. The Swans yet to use their sub. It's Ryan Clark, and that came about with a bit of late movement as well as the exiting kick from Cunningham chopped off. Here's Marshall between wing and half forward for the Saints. St Kilda by 21, 11 played in the last. Marshall with a high kick inside the forward 50. Hey, in from the side, Rampy kills it over the boundary line, a throw-in. 40 out from the Saints goal. So Ryan Clark, the sub for Sydney. Earlier, James Rowbottom, who was meant to be the sub, called into the starting 22 as Callum Mills, but laid out with Achilles soreness. 21 points the Saints lead, 12 played final term.
Thrown back into play. It's inside attacking 50 for St Kilda. Sharman down. Ball spurted back towards him. Steele shrugged a couple of tackles. Looping hand pass out. It's a good one to Dunstan, who can have a flying shot at goal. Doesn't quite make the distance. Higgins getting to work at ground level. In fact, it's Butler. He's tackled, slammed onto his back. Ball going nowhere. A ball up at the top of the goal square.
Big moment this. Swans haven't really been able to build much momentum throughout the night. They've kicked the only goal of the final term. They're trying to save one here, last line of defence. From the ball up, Burns tries to soccer it through, and in the end, I think Lloyd just had a fumble that Saints are trying to appeal for deliberately rushed. And as a result, it's through for a minor score. St Kilda by 22 now. 13 played final quarter.
Swans were the only goal, but 4 behinds for the Saints in this final term so far. Lloyd takes it out of his defensive goal square, has a bounce, then kicks out wide to Dawson, who takes the mark. His next kick, it's been the problem across half back for Sydney all night. Dawson onto that left boot, bites off a fair bit, and it could be a turnover as well. Heaney at ground level, tries to win the ball. It's dragged in underneath him. Dunstan over the top. He's got to be careful here. Ball up. Just outside of the centre square, in between wing and half forward. Saints into attack.
Interesting stage of the game in Adelaide as well. 18 minutes in the last quarter. Crows still lead Port by 3. They've led most of the night in a low-scoring affair. And the ball up on the wing here. Marshall grabs it, kicks it to half forward. Kent whacks it out the back. There's Dunstan's advantage, taken high in the Dawson tackle. So Dunstan to get the free, left half forward. 55 out for the Saints. They lead by 22 points. He straightens up, and Jack Steele, the captain, takes the mark just inside the forward 50. He'll kick from right on the 50-metre arc.
Sydney mids have just got to do a better job of finding their direct opponent on the spread there. A couple of them were really slow to leave that initial contest. There was a free kick, and then they still couldn't find Steele. I think it was Parker's direct opponent. He's just got to do a better job at finding him on the spread.
It's been a good Saints tonight, one of the Jekyll and Hyde teams of the competition in 2021. He's kicked Sale's goal, but it's off target. Missing to the left. Saints by 23, 14 played final term. Swans have kicked 9 for the night. They've got to kick 4 here at least to win it in the last 9.5 minutes on the game clock.
It's not beyond them, the way that they've played this year, but they haven't quite looked like it tonight. Lloyd attacking kick up towards the wing. Dawson dropped the mark. Crouch, underground hand pass to Hill. Back to Crouch, who's retreating. Hand pass to Steele. Good hand pass over the top, finds Wilkie. Wilkie out wider to Ross. And Ross inboard. Important kick cut off by Parker. And Parker wants to go quickly.
Gee, dangerous hand pass away to Hewitt. He feeds it to the lizard. Blakey goes darting through the middle. Kicks deep to a one-on-one. Heaney and Highmore. Highmore spoils. The help arrives. Caulfield pushed off the footy. Hayward has to pick it up. He does. Snaps off 2 steps. Bounce in goalward. Gets the bounce he wanted. Swans are still kicking. Will Hayward with the goal. And a critical one for the Swans here midway through the final term. St Kilda's lead cut to 17. Saints 12-9-81. Sydney moved to 10-4-64. Will Hayward with his second of the night.
Well, it worked out to be a pretty good play in the end, where that intercept mark from Parker getting back in front of the leading lane. He played on, was under the pump, and it was a rushed handball forward, but then the lizard came...
Didn't he come flying?
Flying out of defensive 50 for Sydney, and then had a really good opportunity. It was actually a poor kick in the end to Isaac Heaney and Highmore. I think he was isolated just 40 metres out. Just needed to go long over his left shoulder there back towards the goal square, and he kicked it straight, flat, hard one, straight at the... it was turned into a 50-50 contest. But great follow-up from Hayward, who was caught further up the field where the ball went over his head. He pushed back really hard as a small forward, got front and square, won a really, really good ground ball inside 50, and then a great finish.
So what have the Swans got and what have the Saints got as well, with top 8 ambitions on the line here tonight? Now Rowbottom turns, gets the hand pass to Kennedy, who pokes the kick inside 50 and losing his feet at the vital moment was Goulden. Allowed Steele to take the mark. He's going to come out wide. Marshall, the target, up against McInerney, had him for height and body size, but McInerney won the day, got the spoil away. Now Stevens takes a bounce, delivers inside 50. Hayward drops the mark, and then Stevens couldn't follow up with a tackle. Now a chance for the Saints. Short kick, going back with the flight. Marshall, great contest, takes the mark, running back with the flight, just short of centre wing.
Saints by 17 midway through the final term. In Adelaide, Crows by 3 over Port Adelaide. 6 goals to 5, time on in the last. Marshall down the line and Kent takes the chest mark. Between wing and half forward. On the western boundary line, just beneath us. He's going to kick hurriedly inside the forward 50. They come from all directions. Sharman had a climb, spoiled by McCartan, down to Blakey. Bangs it out of the defensive arc. Another pack forms. Spills down to Hewitt of the Swans. Hand pass to Hayward into the path of Kennedy. Under pressure. Got it away to Wicks. There's a free. Kennedy was tackled after getting rid of it. And a free kick for Sydney. I think it's going to be a downfield free. And Kennedy's just working this out as the kick is going his way. Right in front of the interchange gates. Saints by 17, but Sydney have kicked the last 3 in the game.
Kennedy attacking kick. He's turned it over into the middle. Now Kent comes away with it. Kicks inside 50. It's a one-on-one. Bit of a shallow entry. It gets out the back. Steele. Hand pass just missed the target. He has to go and mop up his mess. He got it to Sharman, who lets fly and might have kicked the winner for the Saints. He's got a couple. 10-4-64 the Swans. Is it a bridge too far now? 13-9-87 St Kilda. Sharman with their first goal of the final term after 18 minutes, and it might be the killer blow.
Well, Joey Kenny just going for that kick inside.
It was on.
Yeah, it was on. You miss it, you can see what happens as a result. They still had the wicketkeeper sitting back in Rampy. Ability to play. He was playing in front of Steele. It's a good effort by Jack Steele just to get that ball to ground, get it to where he's probably stronger than Rampy on the ground. Quick hands. And Sharman, it's a nice finish there. Could that have been the nail in the coffin, Maisie?
Bit of time, that's sweet.
Well, still making a game of it.
We've got a score and a rush now, Sydney, so just under 7 minutes on the game clock. 23 St Kilda's lead, and we've got a lead change time on in the final quarter in Adelaide. So Port by 3, having trailed all night. Port Adelaide 6-11 over Adelaide 6-8. And that could put them 2 games clear in the top 4 with 2 to play, given the fact that the Swans are on the wrong end of this result so far. Vitale out the middle, gives it to Ross, floats a kick inside the forward 50, out to meet it Kent, hand pass to McKenzie, 60 out at half forward, swings his kick into the pocket, and at the drop of the footy, Cunningham takes the intercept mark for Sydney. Goes short to Blakey, still in the defensive arc.
Attacking kick by Blakey. He's turned it over as well. 70 out from goal. Dunstan can load up. Instead, he just takes his time. No one standing the mark, so he just pauses, then pulls the kick. Plenty of space in the forward pocket. The mark taken by memory, and he'll line up from 40 out. 45-degree angle to the right.
Again, it's just... you look up and you see that space, so I didn't actually see what was on in the goal square, but McCartan's got to then take that dangerous space off him, because I looked everywhere else inside 50, there's not that pocket of space anywhere else. So just take that strong positioning on that outside shoulder in the pocket where there's dangerous space. Dunstan's a left footer, so he may have been leaning towards his right. That's McCartan as a defender, but he's got to take away that dangerous space. It was a really good kick in the end and a good lead for Membry.
2 goals for Membry tonight. This would kill the contest. It's away. Doesn't even make the distance. No St Kilda player on the goal line. Mark taken by Hickey.
Membry, Hickey and Jones, the 3 guys out there all playing against their old team. Tom Hickey at his 4th club. He's got a couple of old teams in the competition. He's told to go now. Top of the defensive goal square, closed down by Higgins. Long kick out to halfback. Franklin, who hasn't had a huge impact, crashes through, comes to Kennedy. Hand pass away to Goulden. Whacks it over his head now. Jones with it for the Saints. Hand pass to Dunstan, trying to run through a couple. He's caught. Got a hand pass away, but there's a pack forming right in front of him. Well, the ball up there, 70 out from the Saints goal. Sydney led for 1 minute tonight. Goulden kicked the first goal at the 6-minute mark of the opening quarter. Sharman then replied at the 7-minute mark. And from that point on, St Kilda have led. And their lead has continued to grow at every change from the stoppage. Ross puts it inside 50 for the Saints. Membry's on the end of it. Membry rolls around onto his right boot, centering kick. McKenzie flies, Blakey spoils. Live ball 40 out from the Saints goal. Hand pass comes to Bytel. He gives it to Jones. Jones shoots goal when it hasn't got the trip. There's a free for a hold. It's a St Kilda free in the goal square. Oh, and Dean Kent is going to get a gift. He was in a tangle with Robbie Fox. And Kent, on the slightest of angles, will kick from 5 metres out to kill it off.
It was in a tangle, but it looked nothing from here. It was a 50-50 contest. They were both...
Test of strength.
There's no such thing anymore.
No, there's not. Yep. Unlucky. As soon as they see those arms around, interesting, he's going for the droppy right in front of it.
Kent's going to have 3. Slide angle, game. Puts it through and the Saints are home. They keep their season alive. 14-9-93. Sydney 10-4-64. 22 played final term. Saints by 29. And Port Adelaide with 2 big goals in the final term. They lead the Crows by 9, having trailed all night. The Power 7-11. Adelaide 6-8.
Trying to get a look at the replay.
Oh, wow.
Lee Fisher. I could probably picture a bit of social media on at the minute. Lee Fisher just playing a free kick to a Saints player in the goal square with only 5 minutes to go, just to seal up. But there wasn't much there, unfortunately, Fish, so you might cop a few angry social media posts. I'm sure he's probably not even. He's too smart, Lee Fisher. But there wasn't much in that, but it's fair to say that's probably the sealer and the nail in the coffin, as you mentioned, Corbin. It's been a funny old night for the Swans. They've been well off the mark. They've been really underwhelming. They have been up for a while, but the Saints, to their credit, have been really impressive and defensively just able to shut down Sydney all night.
Marshall to Dunstan to Bytel to Crouch, and now inside 50. Mark taken by Membry. And Membry will line up from 45 out.
They haven't got a lot of centre clearances tonight, but that was one where it was just clean out, Maisie. It was nice little just drop-off pass. Membry, when it's moving that freely, the wingman hasn't got time to get back, fill up those leading lanes. Hopefully makes a distance here. His last 3 have really struggled.
He was in a similar position distance-wise from this side of the ground, and he hasn't made it again on the opposite side of the ground. Marshall's almost taken the mark. Hand pass came down quickly. Higgins couldn't gather. Chance for the Swans. Rampy kicks it end over end. It was touched, so Jones has to go straight away. Dinks the kick in. Marshall one grab, not the second. Hickey got it. Hand pass was knocked down by Crouch. Made its way to Rowbottom. They're just rolling the dice here. Blakey hand pass to himself to try to regather in traffic because he had not many options ahead of him. He became the tackler, turns his opposition, doesn't concede the free kick, and it'll be a stoppage inside the centre square.
The result in Adelaide's going to be a double blow for the Swans, so a slip-up tonight. Their 5-game winning streak will come to an end. Port will win, and the Swans will be 2 games out of the top 4 with 2 to play. So obviously an unlikely goal at the start of the season, but very much in the frame coming into the weekend, a top 4 finish for the Swans. The Saints have worked it out again with another stoppage win. Bradley Hill from the wing kicks it to half forward, and Lloyd in front takes the mark for the Swans. He gives it to Cunningham. Kicks in the centre square for Reid. Reid pokes the pass over halfway. Sinclair arriving late. Comes up with it for the Saints. Bangs it back inside the forward 50, but turns it over. And Rampy with the intercept mark inside the D50. Saints by 29, 25 played in the last.
He rifles one. Got through about 4 sets of hands. Finds Kennedy, backside of the centre circles. Hand pass to Goulden, inside 50. Misses Papley. Jones is there. Slams it on his boot rather blindly. Mark taken by Burns at right half back. He's happy just to slow proceedings down a bit. This will be a great win for St Kilda tonight, and they can keep their September dream alive. Marshall contested, punched away from him by Hickey. Ball in front of the interchange benches.
After the slip-up against Carlton last week, always a tough road home for the Saints, but they passed the first test. Sydney tonight, a tick, and then 2 tough asked to finish. They've got Geelong in Geelong next week. We've seen them a little vulnerable on home last night, obviously dropping that game to the Giants, and then for St Kilda it's Fremantle in round 23. The Dockers in the 8 at the start of the weekend. So Sydney send a kick forward through Blakey. His kick slips out of play, so a boundary throw in here, half forward for the Swans, 50 out from their attacking goal. And an interesting psychological study too. We talked a lot about the Giants getting a little pep up from their relatives arriving during the week, their family coming out of the hub. It's had the adverse effect on the Swans, obviously reuniting with their loved ones on Thursday, and their 5-game winning streak comes to a close tonight.
Dunstan, hand pass to Vitelli, kicks off the outside of his right boot, long kick up, no mark taken. A chance now for Membry at ground level, gives it to the running Butler, who takes a bounce, gets inside 50, veers away from Cunningham. Oh, smart kick to the top of the square, no mark taken. Burns didn't know where it was. A chance for the Swans at ground level. Hand pass comes the way of Lloyd. He works it back to McCartan. Now over the top of it, Dawson. It spurts out the side. Sharman's in there, knocks it to the advantage of Sinclair. Gets around one. Got tackled, had to get a hand pass away. Cunningham to Rampy. Defensive goal square, straight up the middle. It's a good kick to find Parker.
Parker by hand away to Rowbottom. So Rowbottom goes long to centre half forward. And the intercept mark taken by Highmore at centre half back. I think we called Rowbottom a heat, the late inclusion for Mills. He goes short to Caulfield. It comes out wide to Jones. Jones to the wing for Membry. Takes the mark for the Saints. A 10-point lead for Port over the Crows. Here it's 29 points. St Kilda lead the Swans, 28 played in the last.
Wilkie back to Highmore, inside defensive 50. He goes out wide to Ross, behind centre wing. Ross chips over the top. Sinclair, who does the same, finds Burns. Now a chance to go inside 50. No, he goes backwards instead. Mark taken. And that is the end of a very fine win for the St Kilda Football Club. The final margin, 29 points, but more importantly, their September dreams alive. So the final score, 14-9-93, the Saints to the Swans, 10-4-64. Goal kickers, Higgins with 4, 3 to Kent, 2 to King, Sharman, Membry, and a single to Steele for Sydney. 2 to Dawson, Goulden, Haywood, Papley, and singles to Franklin and Florence.
.29 points in the finish. The march continues for the Saints, while for Sydney, their top 4 hopes dashed. Their 5-game win streak comes to an end tonight. St Kilda by 29 points, 14-9 over the Swans, 10-4. A goal to the Crows in the showdown, so all of a sudden a little tense there, time on final term. The Power by 4 points. If Port win, they'll be 2 games clear inside the top 4 with 2 to play, so that'll pretty much guarantee them the double chance, barring something significant happening in the last 2 rounds of the season. So we'll be across the closing stages there and let you know if anything changes. Sydney led for only 1 minute tonight after Golden kicked the opening goal at the 6-minute mark of the opening quarter. Sharman locked it up 1 minute later, and St Kilda led from that point on. 5 points at quarter time, 18 at the half, 24 at three-quarter time, and 29 in the finish. It got wider the longer it went. Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard with your initial take.
Well, at half-time it was all about how kind of average Sydney had been, but I think in the second half it was more evident that St Kilda were really good.
Yep.
Really good defensively. They took away that uncontested chain from Sydney that, again, they're just so reluctant to kick it long down the line and get to a contest, and then in the second half when they had to, they had no tall forward when they were in the front half. there was no representation from either Buddy Reed or Isaac Heaney, who play that third tall.
They don't work.
They don't work hard enough to get down the line. No. And then when they were there in the first half, they weren't kicking him. So maybe that's
as a result.
As a result of them not rewarding them when they were there, and give us a chance when they had a bit of 2v2 or 1v1 at times down the line. It's almost that Richmond mould of they're happy to take it, but take it quick. Take ground quick, as opposed to get off the mark, wait for everyone to get back, and then second half it was like, well, what's the use of running there when they're not going to kick it to us? So they're going to switch it, and we'll play the percentages and hover around the middle of the ground and wait for it to get switched out the other side. And we don't have to run 120 metres, we'll run 60. But that's another story. But yeah, it was more about the Saints. They were really good defensively. That's the thing I noticed, just their ability to number off really quickly, make quick decisions defensively, which I've been critical of them in the past, which it has stood out. Their work defensively from a midfield point of view, in particular, their midfielders haven't been good enough defensively. All of them, as good as Jack Steele is offensively and does a hell of a lot of work, at times he can, his defensive spread initially is sometimes poor as well. So that was really noticeable. They were all working hard to find their man initially when they couldn't impact the play, and then it was a flow-on effect from that. So when Sydney did win it and try and find that uncontested chain, there was nothing there. Midfielders number off really well. Yep. Defenders have taken strong positions, so when they look forward to the ball, couldn't find anything. So they did a really good job, and they're pretty efficient going inside 50 too. So a lot more than Sydney, that reluctant to kick it in there quick, kick it into a contest. St Kilda at times were happy to do that. The small forwards in particular got to work. Kent, Higgins combined for 7 goals tonight. So that's a great return from small forward.
Well, that's where they've been down, haven't they? Like when we were watching them earlier in the year, their small forwards are almost unsided. Butler, Higgins, Kent wasn't even in the side. That's where they were really falling down. But tonight, Higgins, he was great in the first half in particular. I thought Butler didn't have a huge game stats-wise, but I thought what he did was creative. 9
tackles.
Yeah, took the game on.
As a small forward, that's pretty impressive.
That's it. He used his speed, which is his one wood. So 17 tackles inside 50 for the Saints tonight, and 19 marks inside 50, which you don't often see. We've talked about how well the Swans probably set up defensively, but that back shoulder really let them down tonight, didn't it?
All just slow decisions, weird decisions, not being taking the initiative.
They weren't proactive, were they?
And being aggressive in their positioning. It was really weird. It's not like St Kilda had all the time in the world, running out with clean air in front of them, shoulders out, and got time to make really good decisions. A lot of the time it was an iffy kick to a really dangerous position, albeit, but their defenders were caught almost just guarding grass and expecting someone else to get there and aerial support. It was really weird watching it, because it was only 3 weeks ago we were here, and it was a totally different team that played against the Bulldogs maybe a month ago. So.
So how much do you put down to them being flat, and how much is it more of a longer ongoing concern from what you saw from them?
No, I don't think it's ongoing, because it's not a pattern behaviour. So it was a one-off thing, and we've done a couple of their games in recent times, and they're a different team tonight. They were a little bit off. You could feel it probably halfway through that first quarter. They were a little bit off, in particular their defenders. So saying that, I think still the credit St Kilda came to play. They've been really poor for 3 weeks, really poor against Carlton last week, as you'd expect. When you have a poor one, bit of scrutiny. Probably did another good review, like that they've talked about, only happening halfway through the year. That strong feedback from players. They've continued that, theme on, and they've got a response. After they've 3 losses, but it was run really poor week last week. But they got a response after 1 poor week, as opposed to the 2-3 weeks that they've had in the past.
Feels like it's in keeping with the season, isn't it? Where those teams between 7th, 8th on the ladder, right down to 12th, 13th. 1 week they're Dr. Jekyll, 1 week they're Mr. Hyde, and today the Saints played the role of Dr. Jekyll. This was good St Kilda today, but what we saw last Friday night was the worst of them. Again, it's such a topsy-turvy season for them.
Well, that's it. I think that's where my hesitation certainly came from tonight when I rolled in. I wasn't sure what St Kilda was going to turn up. Were they going to be the team that we saw probably for most of last year and took them all the way to a semi-final, or was it going to be the team that got smacked by the Bombers by 80-odd points?
Or the team last week.
Or the team last week against the Blues. So, forgive me for having those thoughts before the game, but they came out and they played and they took it up, and as Beej alluded to, they defended the game really well. I thought they denied the Swans any time and space. I don't think the Swans helped themselves in their ability to work to get through that, to allow, you got to do the work early to really grind down the Saints, and they just had their way early, essentially, and, it paid in dividends towards the back end of the game. They were just able to open it up, take the game away from the Swans, and when the push come to shove, the big forwards from the Swans weren't able to stand up, and I thought young Highmore did a really good job. Wilkie did a really good job.
Yeah.
And they supported each other really well in the defensive 50, defensive half for the whole game. They just didn't allow them to run, jump, fly. They wouldn't even kick it to the key forwards in the end. So their job was completely done.
And all this without, obviously, Dougal Howard, who went out during the week, so he's missing from that lineup. Hunter Clark with that fractured jaw again going back out. Jaron Geary missing, as he has done for much of the year. So a couple out for St Kilda, and their backline was able to hold up. Less than a goal in it heading into the final minute in Showdown 50. Port Adelaide slightly in front of their crosstown rivals, having trailed for much of the night. Full-time moments ago. Here's how the last minute played out.
Gray went back to Amon. Takes a look around, takes his time. His kick inside 50 wasn't great. There was a high attack on the ball on McPherson, and it came from Butters, so Adelaide a chance to clear it. They get it across to Jones. They switch sides, and Aaliyah is going to be in the way of Jones's kick.
Got a man up now.
So Aaliyah takes the mark for Port Adelaide on centre wing and just holds on.
35 seconds on the clock. Aaliyah heads up to left half forward for the power. Cut off by Duday. He's taken the mark, has he? Yes, play on. Duday wastes little time. 30 seconds to go. Down the western wing. Bergman in front position, can't take it. There's a free in the contest. His arms were chopped. 15,000 fans in attendance.
Incredibly soft.
They are filthy with the decision. Miles Bergman on the western wing. Runs out the clock. And the power hang on. Heartbreak for the Adelaide Crows.
Gee, they did a lot right throughout the night, the Crows. They led for most of the evening and in the end fall 4 points short. So Port Adelaide victorious 7-13-55. Adelaide 7-9-51. The two results are very much linked as to what it means for the competition. So Port Adelaide win. They get to 15 victories. Sydney lose. They stay on 13. So there's a 2-game gap between the top 4 and the 5th-placed Swans. The Swans are still a game clear of the Brisbane Lions, who are in 6th on 12 wins. The Lions obviously still to play tomorrow over in Perth against the Dockers, but that would pretty much mean our top 4's set. Western Bulldogs, Geelong, Port Adelaide, Melbourne, half a game behind the rest at the moment. Obviously the D's and the Bulldogs still to play this weekend.
Yeah, it's interesting the way it's all shaping up. There's nothing to say that the Dockers can't actually roll the Lions.
I agree.
Tomorrow, and who knows what's going to happen with the Eagles. We did that game on the weekend and they were putrid, but back on their home deck, we know they're strong over there. So it'll be interesting to see where the D's are at on Monday night. But
it's just a shame that you can't have fans here supporting it, because their teams are still half a chance. That bottom part of the 8.
It'd be so exciting, wouldn't it?
Top 4, was still up for grabs this week, and now Sydney. Well, I think Brisbane will get up because they need a response.
Wow, no Lockie Neal, missing a few.
I like the way the Dockers have been going about.
But they need to respond. They've been really poor for 3.
Yeah, they need to, but they haven't. So
and there's a bit of heat on them during the week, so they've out of sight, out of mind up there.
The Suns only rolled them. So if the Suns didn't go to sleep and they weren't they had them under the pump. I don't know. Sorry, they didn't nearly roll them, but they had them.
You tipping Freo?
No.
My tipping's going shocking, but I'll take the Dockers in that.
I'll take Brisbane, but saying that my point was that Brisbane win, they go ahead of Sydney. Sydney's all of a sudden down to 6 when win tonight, and they're still on the verge of
top 4,
making top 4. So it's the Saints finals aspiration still alive. It's like
who would have thought?
6 weeks or 10 weeks ago, they've just they're a bit like West Coast. They've put in some absolute stinkers.
It was a big weekend for the teams in the crunch between 7th and 13th. So the Eagles in 7th still to play. They're on 40 premiership points. GWS are in the 8th, possessions 9th, 10th. Obviously this time of the year it's important just to be there. So they're in 8th spot. They've got the draw, so they're on 38 points on 9.5 wins. Half a game ahead of Richmond on 9.
So they play next week, don't they, I think?
Yes.
Giants, Tigers.
Fascinating game. It could very well be the Friday night game. Obviously, the fixture's still floating at this stage. In 10th spot, the Dockers. So they've gone from 8th to 10th without having played. They can leap everyone and get back in the 8 if they win tomorrow. So they're on 9 wins. St Kilda's still alive on 9 wins. They need a bit to go their way with a poor percentage. And then Essendon, they're on 8 wins. They need to keep winning if they're any chance the Bombers with 3 to play. They've got the Western Bulldogs tomorrow. And Carlton's season really ended today. They're 8 and 12, having lost to the Suns earlier today. Let's listen to the Saints song. We're about to head into their rooms and get some reaction. But first, this is how the boys belted it out moments ago. So it continues for St Kilda, 9 and 11. They keep their season ticking. They've got a bit to do, though, in the last 2 rounds. A 29-point win over the Swans tonight. And their big man, Rowan Marshall's been good enough to join us on Grandstand AFL across Australia. Rowan, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks, lads. Thanks for having me.
How did you do it tonight?
Contested ball was a massive focus for us tonight. I thought we were pretty good in that area. We know Swans are really good with their pressure, and I think number 1 in the comp. So I thought we really drove through the tackle well and then gave it to our blokes on the outside. And we had pretty good connections going inside 50 as well, which helped us.
Yeah, Rowan, it's Brennan Goddard, mate. Well done tonight, and well done your own performance there, taking the sole ruck duties. Was there a key focus? It looked like up here that defensively you were really good tonight. Obviously a poor performance last week, but team defence and also your midfielders being able just to get on the spread and find their direct opponent a little bit quicker than probably other weeks. Was there a focus on that?
There was a pretty big focus. So we reviewed the disappointing result last week against Carlton. Defence was one of the main areas we sort of worked on. So we sort of altered a few things during the week depending on how Sydney moved the ball, and I thought that worked really well tonight.
And what about we thought it was a pretty pivotal matchup for you, but Wilkie, and I made mention of what a great player he's turned himself into, but his role on Buddy tonight, anyone coming into this game probably thought that, or we mentioned at the start of the game, it stuck out like a sore thumb, that mismatch, because he was so undersized, but unbelievable job tonight.
Yeah, Wilkes is awesome. I think he's one of the most underrated defenders in the comps and probably doesn't get the recognition he deserves at times. So I thought he did a fantastic job tonight and one of the best forwards ever. So that's just what he does week in, week out. You can expect that from Wilkie, and he did it again tonight.
Rowan, Brett Lidio here, mate. Well done tonight. I just wanted to ask about your small forwards, mate. Early in the season, they were struggling a little bit, but tonight I thought they were fantastic. Their ability to tackle, chase, but then also to get on the scoreboard. I talk of Jack Higgins, Butts and Kent as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, one thing we've sort of struggled with this year has been our entry going inside forward. So when the entry's pretty poor, it doesn't help our small forwards at times. But I thought that was pretty good tonight. Our forward group worked really well together, with a big Maxi. Cooper Sharman showed a lot in his second game, and then Skunk as well. And then, like you mentioned, those small forwards just sticking around, applying lots of pressure and get front and centre, and kicked a couple, which was good.
And no doubt a fair bit would have been made of Razor Ray Chamberlain's 350th this week, mate. I'm surprised you boys didn't, on guard of honour, cheer him off, anything like that.
Oh, yeah, Razy. Did a pretty good job tonight. So, yeah, good on him.
Rowan, how many centre bounces have you started on the wing during your career?
Yeah, that was our first one. A bit of a frying from myself and the bench, but we'll look through that during the week. I don't think it was my fault, but we'll look back at the vision and see what the go was.
You obviously spent a bit of time in quarantine recently after your trip to the pub after Melbourne's last outbreak. What did you do during quarantine, Rowan? Catch up on any TV shows, or what did you fulfil during that time in Perth?
Yeah, it was a pretty tough time. Obviously having to isolate by myself for 8 days, but the club was really good, really supportive, so shipped me into an Airbnb, and pretty lucky that the Olympics are on at the moment, so I watched plenty of that. Bit of Netflix as well, watched probably 2 seasons of different shows, so that was good. The club dropped off the exercise bike as well, so I was still able to keep fit, but it was good.
Yeah. And what about the Olympic sports? Any of them that sort of catch your fancy, where you think, look, if I wasn't playing footy, that might be me?
I don't know. I've quite liked watching the track and field. I think the 100-metre athletes are pretty impressive, so I've liked watching that event.
I've just got a serious one to finish. Obviously, your former teammate, Robbie Young, was at the centre of a racial slur, which obviously emerged during the week, and we obviously know what's happened since. Have you been in contact with Robbie, or as a group, have you guys discussed, obviously, what went on there?
Obviously, really tough for Robbie in the Aboriginal community. So, a few of us have reached out to Robbie and made sure that everyone's all right at the club. So, tough situation. We've got to be better as an AFL environment going forward.
Rowan Marshall with us on Grandstand AFL. And the custom Guernseys tonight, Rowan, the first time we've seen them in a Pride game, so 6th annual edition. It's an important part of the calendar for the Saints and the Swans. Obviously a little unusual this year, though, without a crowd in attendance.
Yeah, that's right. It's a bit flat at times with no crowd, so it's a bit different, but we're starting to get used to it now.
Rowan, appreciate your time.
Thanks, lads. Cheers.
Rowan Marshall, St Kilda big man. The Saints home by 29 points. 14-9-93 over the Swans, 10-4-64.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. He didn't give too much away, did he, Big Bro? He was straight to the point. Hadn't played on the wing before, so that was good. Didn't think about Razor. He just said he did a good job.
He played a very strong bat.
Yeah, he was an opening batsman, wasn't he?
He was.
In the V.
We're on air for another 25 minutes or so happy to hear from you as well off the SMS, 0437 774 774. The winners tonight, Port Adelaide by 4 points over Adelaide. They came from behind to win what was a pretty thrilling showdown, low-scoring affair. Port 7-13-55, Adelaide 7-9-51. And here it was St Kilda by 29 points over Sydney. They got it out to as many as 30 points. Sydney kicked 3 in a row. They got back within 17, and then the Saints the last 2 of the game to win by 29 points. We'll hopefully get some reaction from the Swans and pull apart the other footy stories of the day. Toby Green offered a 2-match ban. Richmond 33-point winners over North. The Suns by 19 over Carlton, so a bit more to work through here on Grandstand AFL before we're off air at 11 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Let's see what's happening over in Tokyo. Of course, a big night as we draw towards the end of the Olympics. The Boomers on court, Ned Hall in their bronze medal match.
We're in front as well at the moment, Corbin, by 9. It's been ebbing and flowing, this game has. The Slovenians were down to 3 points behind them a moment or two ago. But Australia has reinforced their lead now. It's in the 4th. There's 3.5 minutes on the clock. And I can also just tell you that Nicola McDermott has just failed in her first attempt at 2 metres in the women's high jump. She was in the gold medal position before that attempt, with most of the athletes, apart from 3, failing at 1 metre 98. So she was sitting pretty and looking good there. However, the bars moved up to 2 metres, and the Russian Olympic Committee athlete Maria Lidskeny has passed 2 metres, and so it means that she's off top spot. Nicola McDermott. Eleanor Pattinson is still in contention there as well. So all still to play for in the javelin, but it's looking good for the Boomers at the moment. Slovenia have pushed them all the way in the high jump, but it's looking like now the bronze medal is closer and closer. Timeout now with Australia 11 in front and 3 minutes 22 left on the clock there. We've already seen a very exciting 1500 metre race earlier. Stuart McSween and Ollie Hoare coming 7th and 11th respectively. Inga Britson, the 20-year-old Norwegian, smashed the Olympic record in a gruelling race. So fantastic stuff to watch there. And we've also seen a very impressive Dutch runner Sifan Hassan pick up the 10,000 metres for women after winning in the 5,000 metres and also picking up a bronze medal in the 1,500 metres. She is an elite athlete. So fantastic stuff all around the place at the moment. But with 3 and a bit minutes left on the clock, Australia are looking good for the bronze medal at the moment. But the Slovenians keep coming back and won't let them get away at the moment. Nicola McDermott and Alana Pattinson both in medal contention in the women's high jump. Incidentally, we've already lost 5 jumpers from the final, so only 9 athletes alive, and so far 6 of them have already failed twice at 1.98 metre and are on the verge of going out. So a medal looking a good prospect in the high jump.
Thanks, Ned. Stay close by and let us know the final result in the basketball. But as you said, a nice lead for the Boomers. So 11 points their way, a 4-possession game with 3 minutes on the clock. St Kilda by 29 points full time tonight off the SMS 0437 774 774. Just got a query around Carlton. Before we get into the Blues, here was David Teague's response earlier today following the Blues' 19-point loss to the Suns.
I think it was a challenge point for our group, particularly probably from an expectation point of view when frustration occurs, our ability to stay in the moment and stick to the process and be able to execute. So a couple of times when we've probably gone in as favourites, we haven't actually played as well. In other games, when we've got a long way behind and the shackles come off, we play some nice football. So we've got to find a way to be able to stay really present and be able to execute at our best for longer. And that's what the good teams do, whether they're in front, they keep the same habits, or whether they're behind, they keep fighting. And for us, it's that consistency throughout our journey of being able to do that. It's not at the level.
Corbin Middlemass, Andrew Mays, Brett Delidio, Brendan Goddard with you on Grandstand AFL. That was David Teague on the team living up to expectations, essentially, going in favourites today and losing by 19 points against the Suns. Off the SMS, Ryan says, with Mackay, Walsh and Wiedering, is it fair to expect more from Carlton than what they've got this year, currently on 8 wins with 2 to play?
Yeah, we all expect more. We expected them.
They're not a basketball team, though. That's 3 players.
3 players, exact. But they've still got enough.
Yeah, that's great, but it's everything else that's around them that's not up to scratch at the moment, I think.
Yeah. They're better than what I think they're showing now. Even just, I know personnel-wise and talent-wise, but just, yeah, that's a separate conversation to what they're actually dishing up, like effort, intensity-wise, consistently over a long period of time, and they're just not there mentally. They're not able to get themselves up, and like favouritism kind of tag this weekend, like really, like, jeez.
Surely they'd be favourites against Gold Coast, though, having beaten St Kilda in that fashion last Friday night. Not in your book?
Not really.
Suns lost by 100 points.
Yeah, I know, but what have Carlton done consistently well? The bookies would have them favourites because it's the obvious thing, but I think if you're a legitimate footy person, you just go, this is a toss of a coin, really. Is that how everyone felt here in the box?
I thought they'd get the job done, purely off what I saw them do last Friday night. But yeah,
Saints are putrid last week.
But it's also like it's probably the same hesitation that I had on the Saints coming in here tonight. It's like they could have gone, they turn up and play and show us a little bit. Well, yeah, we see all that, but I think essentially for the Blues, they putting it all together consistently for 4 quarters, it just doesn't happen. And I think early on in the season, when they were up against it, the scoreboard had been blown out. They'd put the hammer down for a little bit and they'd get the score back to a respectable, where they'd be like, oh, well, yeah, they're not getting blown out. You know, they're losing by 20-odd points. Whereas, yeah, that's all well and good, but when the whips are cracking and you've actually got to put the score on the board essentially at the start of the game, they couldn't do it.
Not just the score, yeah, well, as we know, the ability to stop the other team from scoring, it's just non-existent. It's a continued theme. There's that, and then when they do win the ball is going inside 50, so one, decision's being made with the ball and they're just skill execution, and then 2, I think they're set up ahead of the ball and their ability to work. I know, yeah, Mackay, I always get that he's leading the Coleman, but he's, you know, what else is around him? We've seen before, we've seen in Richmond days when Jack's winning Coleman medals, they're missing 8. It's kind of irrelevant. They need to be all playing a role. There's this chemistry they need with one another. There's none of that. So I think the forwards make it hard for times for the ball user and going inside 50s. But there's a couple of things that are sticking out like a sore thumb that hasn't really improved all year, has it? I think it's been disguised in Band-Aid fix for a week just because of maybe just the way the game panned out. But the continuing issues are still there, and they haven't changed.
You heard the siren going off in the background. That's the roof opening here at Dockland Stadium. So a couple of the lads out there just putting in some work, which we often see. The emergencies and the sub, Ryan Clark, who was unused for Sydney tonight. Hopefully we'll get some reaction from the Swans. St Kilda 29-point winners over Sydney. We're just discussing the game earlier here today between Gold Coast and Carlton. So much of the two teams on the run home has been viewed through the senior coach, which is often what happens when the team's under pressure. Do you think either coach should be nervous leading into next season? I mean, Stewie Dew was obviously a heavy focus last week, and I'm sure the pressure will go straight back on David Teague this week.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Michael Voss was floated as going up there as a senior assistant to the Suns, and people are speaking about Alistair Clarkson and what he's going to do next year. People, it's obviously the review is under, and I think David Teague actually came out this week and said, I'm starting to feel the pressure of this constant speculation about where this review is going. So, it's hard, mate. I think the constant media, where it's just getting drilled day in, day out about, this is what's going to happen. And
so if they've done the review and they've got their outcome, which is what we understand, do you think it's incumbent on them to actually inform David Teague and the greater Carlton community as to what's in it, or should they just wait now with 2 rounds to go?
Yeah.
Knowing the toll that it would take on Teague personally, as he's expressed during the week.
Hard to know, Corby. I don't really know how to answer that one, to be honest.
Would you rather know if it was you? Would you rather think, look,
give me the bullet, I think, I'd rather know.
Well, yeah, it's the take the hard news now or die a slow death.
Yeah.
I think most of us would just take the bullet.
Yeah.
In terms of his future as well, if Clarkson doesn't want to coach next year, would you back in David Teague and refresh the team around him? Or do you still think they would be on the search for a new coach?
That's about we don't know the details if that's the issue. If they've finished a review, right?
They have, yeah. So they actually finished it before, so after North Melbourne lost, but before the St Kilda game. So they've had it now for 10 days or so.
Yeah. So if that's the outcome from it, that they deem that's the issue, then so be it. But I don't have enough information to do it. But I'm on the ruthless side as well. That if there is someone better out there.
He hasn't had a long time though, Teague, has he?
No, he hasn't, but I know.
And one of his senior assistants, Johnny Barker, leaves halfway through the year.
Doesn't reflect great on anyone there.
No, it doesn't. Well, you just wonder what's all around him in terms of support.
Mm-hmm.
But they try and bring in John Worsfold as well.
Yep, as a mentor.
As a mentor from the other side of the country. I'm just not sure that's the best way to go about it, but who knows?
Yeah. And then, the argument too of getting rid of him early, not having the support around him, but then the chance of him actually becoming a great coach is he could be the next great coach. We don't know. Everyone's had their tough times or slow starts and could be a great coach, so you run that risk as well.
Well, I know with us under Dimmo, we started zipping 9. I think we only won 4 or 5 games for our first year, and I don't reckon we finished too much higher than the bottom couple of places in our second as well. But I mean,
kept this job at the end of 2015 and
end of 16. Yeah, was when it all kind of hit the fan a little bit. We were supposed to make finals again that year. Didn't. Backed him in. He went away. Did some soul searching. Went up. Yeah, and the rest is history.
It's why the review will be such fascinating reading. Where if the review comes back and it's very critical of Teague himself rather than the whole football department. It's hard to think you can just mark time for another year and think, let's see where we are at the end of 2022.
So I said we don't have enough information. So if it comes back where he's one of, a big concern, him individually and his coaching style and his ability to teach and motivate the guys, then,
And that's always been the focus, hasn't it, in that he's the centre of it all, but I think the review is always intended to be wide-ranging. So I would... completely expect some wholesale changes in other areas of the football club.
Being not a big Carlton man that you are, you're expecting big changes.
So do you expect Teague to be there next year?
I think he's a good chance to be there next year.
Beach?
If they can't get Clarkson.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is who they're going to replace him with. So the odds are he's going to be there.
Yep. Lids?
Yeah, I think he stays.
I think to your point where you're saying he hasn't had long, I mean, he's had one COVID-affected season his first year as the full-time coach, because the games he coached before that, he was the caretaker coach of Brendan Bolton.
Exactly right.
Bolton got sacked, he took over his team. He had one full year in charge, which is a shortened season, 16-minute quarters, COVID backdrop. And then they get this year, which is interrupted as well. But, it's obviously short of what even they thought it was going to be.
I think the recruiting decisions from 5-6 years ago are starting to come back and bite them now.
The guys they brought in?
A couple of high draft picks who haven't quite worked out like they'd hoped.
Grandstand AFL, Corbin Middlemass, Andrew Mays, along with Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio. Full-time here tonight, Saints by 29 over Sydney, and in the other game it was Port Adelaide by 4 points over the Crows. We'll get the votes from the ABC Footballer of the Year shortly. We're happy to take your thoughts as well on 0437 774 774. And we'll get a wrap from Ned Hall as well with the latest from the games.
I'd love to know, now Ryan Clark is below doing sprints. Now, he wasn't the sub until 4 minutes before the game started.
Yeah.
Now, if he was sitting in the crowd tonight, would he still be made to do these sprints?
No, would have done them
right
tomorrow, probably.
That's a great point.
That's unlucky.
Whilst he's got his gear on. Mind you, there's 3 of the Saints boys out there.
Yeah.
So that'll get him out of a session tomorrow at least?
Yeah. Let's have a sleep in, mate.
The other game, which was on earlier this afternoon, was Richmond and North Melbourne. Morris Rioli Jr. made his debut, so jersey number 49. It's a big, heavy number for Rioli Jr. to make his debut in. The other man who played in the game was Daniel Rioli, who joined our team on Grandstand AFL post-game. The reigning premiers, still a big show to make the 8. 33-point winners over North. This is Dan Rioli with our team post-game.
How would you explain how important today was to your family and what it meant to you?
Yeah, it was